Bell's PowerCast, sponsored by thepowermagazine.com, howmuchyourbench.net, and BSN, makers of NO Explode. Look for BSN products at bodybuilding.com. Alongside Silent Mike and Jim McD, here's your host, Mark Bell.
It's the homework start. This is my summer vacation plan. Like, I realized that my mom literally just shucked me. She would ship me off for about 6 weeks to go live with my grandpa or something, you know, and then she would just rage. And then most of the time, honestly, and then most of the time, I was the only child, and then most of the time, she'd be like, be home by dark. And we're just like,
yeah, just go out and play, and then you're like,
8:30, 9,
like, hang out
right?
at
You're
home all day
a
by
California
yourself.
kid. Yeah.
No, Germany. I grew up in Europe.
You're a German?
Not a German. Grew up in Germany.
Wow.
I literally,
You want to hear something awesome?
I
You
drove-
should speak some German. Also.
I rode my bike.
Ich bitte something. I took German for like 5 years. That's
Obviously.
about all I got. Yeah, that's about
That was strong.
that's all I got. I'm Argentinian. I'm not supposed to speak German.
There's a lot of our Germans in Argentina. I can see
Yeah,
why
all
that-
the
yeah.
Nazis ran there.
Exactly.
Hey, I didn't want to go there.
It's
why
the
they have
truth.
good-
Well, they did.
And that's why we're
Apparently,
good at
one of
songs.
Did you hear it? You were like, it's the truth.
You said that.
It's the truth.
Why the fuck were you in Germany?
Did you record all that?
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Yes.
Welcome to the intro. That was great.
My mom was a professor.
We got to talk more about this. Why were you in Germany? What the hell happened there?
Yeah, that's weird.
Mom was a professor.
Oh.
Ended up there. That's why I started kayaking. I live in Germany. But we were talking about how do you create a physical culture. And I think this is, if there's a theme that I'd like to drill down on, the things that we're really interested in right now is what the hell is happening to kids? You know, why are kids overtrained? Why are kids specializing? You know, people forget that you think you just do 3 things, but you're more than that, Mark Bell.
Oh, well, thank you.
You're
I don't know.
oh, he's less than 3 things?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You're just like, you can
Big
do
pecs. 2 big pecs. That's all he is.
Jack, tan.
What
But
else matters?
but you know, your background, even wrestling,
Wrestling.
right? And football and all the other things,
Yep.
or just having 2 brothers to survive. You just had
Right.
to survive 2 brothers. Are you an only child?
Older sister. It didn't really count.
He doesn't count.
There was no
her.
battles.
You had no sibling?
Did she have
You
no?
had
No,
no competition.
My competition was the wild. I had to find myself on the rivers, but
The rivers of Germany?
right. But the issue
Rapid
is
rivers?
I think the issue is we're seeing kids. All the data's coming out about specializing too early. We're seeing horrific. We just had a conversation with some people doing an investigation piece about it. But there's a hospital in San Francisco that books ACL surgeries and Tommy John surgeries, and basically the OR is booked like 18 hours a day.
Yeah, what's
Just
going
for
on?
kids.
What's
Just
going on
for
with
kids.
Tommy John's? Like 500 13-year-olds in a year? Everybody.
It's natural. It's natural.
nuts.
The balls have gotten really heavy.
What about
Yeah,
being,
they've gotten heavier. Gravity.
what
Gravity
about
got
being
turned
all
up.
messed up that you have a surgery named after you? Like, how bad was Tommy John?
Dude,
Yeah, that sucks.
that does
How
suck.
fucked up was he?
I hope I never get a Mark Bell.
Yeah.
Then you
Oh man, there's just been an
I think-
epidemic of the bells.
I think, though, when someone yells, Starrett! Everyone's got to
Oh yeah, kind of.
Posture up.
Starrett,
Maybe it's a
Mark
positive.
Bell.
Starrett!
Thank you.
There we go.
I can't.
He's
sit
making,
here
he's making
without-
fun
I
of
know
the
he
60
loves
minutes
it.
people.
gotta-
He loves it.
I'm fading. I'm losing power.
My packs are keeping me down.
Anymore.
My chesticles
I'm
are too big.
folding.
But I think what's interesting, if we're going to get kids into the strength conditioning game or get kids into this the universe where we're in, you know, what does it look like? What age should kids start lifting? What age should they do sports? When is that? This is the appropriate conversation. It's a disaster right now.
It's a mess. It's a mess. When do you think, Doc?
Let's
When
go
do you
with
think
something.
kids should start lifting?
Something as simple as I can like name my friends by looking at the Walker kids that I've coached and say like that kid's dad didn't even play catch with him. Like he doesn't know how to move, jump, walk, anything. And I know you talk about like no one knows how to run, right?
I didn't even have a dad.
Oh. Your mom didn't teach you.
It's actually a true fact.
Sadness.
I just learned that.
Thanks for bringing up Kelly's dad.
No,
Podcast
literally, there was a
over.
leopard and like a vision of a leopard, and my mom was pregnant.
You're Mowgli. You're Mowgli from Jungle Book.
Ah.
Savage, raised by
Sounds a
wolves.
little Kung Fu Panda-ish, too.
That's my dream.
It really does.
Yeah, that's right.
Doing a split and eating some
Son.
cookies.
Funny you bring up the cookies and the splits.
See?
That is people think it's some other thing, but it's not. But I think, this issue Juliet brings up is the 70s summer. How do you create? We just did
We're obsessed
field
with the
day.
70 summer.
We just did field day again. 70 summer, not 70s big, 70 summer, which is you run wild. What did the article say? You just tear off some Kool-Aid, add 4 cups of sugar,
4 cups and make it
Yeah.
in a plastic container with a lot of BPA in it.
and you just like kids hydrate up.
Oh, kids did some dangerous shit. That's for sure. My
And you
dad.
survived.
My dad grew up with 8 brothers and sisters, and they just ran wild. They're doing all kinds of shit, running around with tools and hammers and baseball bats and footballs, and just setting up all kinds of weird games and different
Right,
things
but
for them to
spending
do.
half the day moving and
But
playing.
moving,
and not,
yeah,
moving
playing.
around and playing.
Yeah, doing a lot of
Yeah.
stuff outside,
Yeah.
not hanging out inside watching TV all day.
We work with a lot of good athletes. We don't. It's interesting. I'll digress for a second, but Ido Portal, movement guy, talking about how to create physical culture and things, and he put out on Facebook. He's like, "How can you tell a good coach?" Like the internet is just ripe with all these coaches who aren't really coaching anyone. And the first thing the guy says is, "Show me your students." And I'm like, "Well, I understand that."
Right.
But on the other hand, I come to go train with Mark Bell because I can secretly get some coaching and not have to, you know what I mean?
Right.
I think what you need there's a fine line there between always producing for validation.
Right. You can only play the cards you're dealt.
There's that piece.
If you get a bunch of non-athletes, you can't turn them into NBA players regardless, or make them move.
or
well.
when you get a
Sometimes.
if you get a bunch of NFL players,
Yeah,
let's take the kid we sent you.
Yeah.
Jack
that guy-
McIntyre.
had no NFL contract when he stepped foot inside super training.
Boom.
And then one training session with super training.
Done.
And bam.
And
it
left
all
with
happened
bicep
for- now
veins
he's
and an
playing-
NFL contract.
Now he's playing for the Jets.
Look, it's not my
Thank
fault.
you, Mark Bell.
Like you didn't even squat; you just walked in.
Ba-boom.
Right. So,
Hallowed ground.
But we work with a lot of athletes, and we don't talk about because we need a place where people can talk about their injuries and and not sort of have that be part of public record.
Yeah.
But so we work with a lot of pitchers and a lot of baseball players remotely and things. They come in. But I just got an email from someone who's like, "Hey, I need you to look at this family friend. He's a high-level pitcher,
High-level elite athlete.
high-level elite athlete. He's 12. He pitches on 4 baseball teams.
Holy crap.
And guess what? He's injured.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
And I literally was like, I
His
don't
pec.
even, where do we even
Probably his
start
pec.
with this? Where do you start? And the issue of the 70s summer, I mean, if people listen to this, you've got to get your kids not just off the couch, but like climbing trees and doing crazy stuff.
Oh,
and
being normal?
being kids.
Yeah.
We
Kids
just
do
did
weird shit.
We just did field day at our school.
We do the sack. We run the sack race every year.
Of course we do. Because getting kids in the sack is totally inappropriate.
Yeah, it sounds
Can I get a
awkward.
hey now?
Sack race. Hey, now.
The issue is it's all about hip extension in the sack.
There you go. There you go.
Is this what? What? I'm a doctor.
What?
It just keeps-
What?
Yeah, he's a dog. He can
It
just talk
just
all
keeps
this.
getting
It
worse.
just gets better. Some kids can't even get in the sack. Probably 10% of the kids are too
Yeah.
inflexible to actually get both feet in the sack. Have to have help. They have to lay down.
All right, we're talking about a potato sack.
like a-
Potato sack.
All right,
Like a
Lois,
Mark
Lois.
Bell issue.
Yeah, Mark Bell would have trouble getting in the sack.
Well, that's not true. He would stomp his foot into the sack.
Yeah.
10 or 15 minutes until his kids were like, "What are you doing, Dad?" He's like putting the sack on.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how Mark Bell puts his own shoes. Just in case you were listening out there, and it's actually quite impressive. Unless there's a bench around,
It's
you put your foot
effective.
up on the bench.
It
Yeah.
works.
Yeah, it works.
You can feed your face. You can touch your face mostly.
A little bit.
All right. So, but then we also for the older kids we have them do a forward somersault. The 4th and 5th graders have to do 3 forward somersaults.
What's
on the way
4th and
back.
5th? Like 12?
They're,
9?
They're 10, 11.
Okay.
10,
Yeah.
11.
I don't got kids.
Jake
I'm the
Bell,
only
baby.
one at the whole table with no
You're only
kids.
25. You're
I'm
cute
never
to have
having kids. I'm
Yeah,
never
you're
having
too
kids,
young.
but
That actually may now because of this podcast be true.
yeah.
But some of these kids can't get on. They can't do a forward somersault. So we're just saying there's this disaster. We are going to start taking on our school, Juliet.
But not even to mention a forward somersault. A lot of kids can't even jump forward in the sack. They can't hop
shit,
in a
really?
sack. Yeah.
It's really grim.
It's
Is
bad.
it athleticism, overweight, combo of everything?
No, just don't move.
Yeah,
Yeah.
never been. Don't
Right.
know how to
How
move.
does that-
Never been
how
taught how
does
to
that
move.
And let me
affect-
just say, we live in Marin County, which is like at risk of sounding. We have a very
It's white.
multicultural school.
Let's just say it's white.
There are more.
Bunch of Germans.
There's a lot of white
A
people
bunch of
there.
Germans
People there.
running around.
There's a lot of different kinds of white people.
The white people problems are let's figure out how to get kids to be more efficient at sack racing.
When your diversity comes in,
Kelly,
Exactly.
can I get some private coaching during this field day?
Yeah.
Yes, you can. It's only $1 million. But what we're seeing is, we've started to take on, and Juliet started, we're starting a project called
JStar.
standupkids.org. And it's not even a website yet, but we own the domain.
I'm involved. Sign me up.
Well, and the issue is
You're
we've
on
got to
board.
get
I forgot to tell
kids.
you.
I'm
We've got to
in.
get kids not sitting anymore. And we think that childhood obesity is just about the sedentary lifestyle. And you just getting kids standing burns what?
Well, I found this, the greatest thing I ever found was this online calculator where you can plug in, if you sat 8 hours a day, like at a normal job, you could plug it in and see if you were to stand the same amount of time,
Right.
how many more calories you would burn. And for me, as a 40-year-old woman, it was 100,000 more calories a year
Holy
just at a
shit.
standing desk, which
Yeah.
is me running 33 marathons
Oh my
in
God.
1 year.
Yeah, it's
So
it's
you
ridiculous.
It's
you think
ridiculous.
Juliet's just jacked and those little abs come out? It's just standing.
It's a
I
lot
just
of
stand there. I just stand there.
Yeah,
been
what
standing
do you-
for
what do you do?
decades.
I don't
stand
actually
around-
exercise.
Should we all rise?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Jackson.
I don't know why we're sitting here right now, actually.
Jackson Tan tip of the day. Stand.
Yeah, if you stand, literally, you can burn so many more calories. If you're trying to shed weight or just be a little leaner, you can add a lot of load just by standing. I know that for you, that's like 3 times the effort for me.
Probably.
Just the pec alone.
we
It's
talk
like
about it, though.
You're doing like a constant Zercher squat all day long.
But like just
Painful.
going to the Olympia, the Arnold or whatever,
Oh,
and we're
kills
standing in
your
the booth
face.
all day.
It's
We eat
exhausting,
cheesecake. We eat whatever we want that weekend, and I come back 5 pounds lighter. I'm like,
Yeah,
how did
kills
that even
everything.
happen?
Right,
Because
you've
you're
been
around so many
standing there
strong
all day.
guys that you actually get weaker.
That's
They steal your chi.
They stole my gravity and my chi.
Your chi. Damn it.
It's still a little bit of your body weight. But,
Straight to your
we're,
face.
We're seeing you guys everywhere, and you were on 60 Minutes recently. I thought that was a great piece. And I want to ask J-Star here, what is this all about? What are you guys trying to do? Like, what is the main, you're mentioning kids. What's the kind of the main mission that you guys are after together as a couple?
Well, I think Kelly says this, but we feel like we've done a lot of work in the performance universe, but we want to try to shift our focus to kids and standing and pain and children's ACL injuries and children's injuries. And so we care a lot about the performance piece still, and that'll always be
Right.
part of what we're doing, but we're kind of shifting our focus a little bit to some of this other more, social justice kind of stuff.
Well, and we take the this idea of like, look, when we're working with all these athletes and these diverse populations, we sort of get all this cool technology and idea about what's best practice for eating, for gaining weight, for losing weight, for leaning out, for for doing all the things we need to do. How do you take those concepts and spin them backwards so they matter to the average lifter in the gym or moms and dads? To how do you give that best practice to kids? I mean, you guys have been doing so much biohacking about eating. How do we eat? It was Jesse who really was like, Kelly, you are eating, this like 3 years ago, was like, Kelly, you're eating terribly.
Yeah.
You don't eat often
Yeah, I remember
enough.
that, yeah.
Remember? And it was just like, you don't eat often enough.
Yeah.
And so like, well, just being cognizant of those things, how do we take those best practices? And what we've gone is we had to get interested in sitting. We had to get interested in jumping and landing mechanics. We had to get interested in some of these things that like you just don't care about. But suddenly we're looking like, hey, we are having conversations with sleep, about sleep, with people in the Navy, with people in the Army, with all these PJs that's wrecking their sleep. But then I start asking my other friends, how are you sleeping? And they don't sleep very well.
Like dog shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I sleep good now, actually, but
I bought an eye mask, like a $3 eye mask. That's the best investment of my life.
so
Oh my God, I'm not even
That's part
joking.
of sleep hygiene.
$3?
That's
Yeah.
the best thing
nice
ever.
and dark.
Yeah.
We're right now working on a book which will come out in October called Ready to Run. Right, and I was not a runner. I had knee pain for a gazillion years running. I ran like crap. This coach friend got me running. I realized that I had a problem and I needed to be able to run. Everyone should be able to run a little bit. I learned how to run, ran an ultra. I was like, great, I've done that.
I ran an ultra.
Ultra. Oh wait,
What is that? What the heck are you talking about?
And he wore it in a shirt that said runners. Yeah, we're different.
We're different.
You ran/walked.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, ultra marathon or whatever. You get the idea.
I don't.
And I'm not going to say I was the biggest guy on the course, and I was.
He was the biggest guy to ever complete that race.
It's true fact. I went to the halfway mark, the turnaround for this 50K, right? And the finish, I was halfway done. Amazing. I'm high-fiving myself, and then the guy finished the race. And I was like, oh man. And then he looked
Did he
at me.
kick you in the nuts on
No,
the way
he
past?
literally
It's
was
just-
he literally
you
was
just
like,
feel that way.
he was like, bro. Good luck out there, son. Hope the Germany training kicks in. So, right? But this book isn't about running technique because you guys have nailed this. Like, if you go to Super Train Gym, you can learn how to squat and deadlift bench. You guys move great. the way, and people have. There are so many roads to Rome. Whether you're following Wendler or whoever's moving, there's so many ways to program and get strong, and like you can buy like Olympic lifting shoes at Kmart now, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. I mean, okay, well, almost. But
Yeah, sort of.
The life has changed. The world has changed. But what we're still seeing, and what this book is really about, is all the low-hanging fruit: diet, nutrition, hydration, compression. How are the things? 'Cause I think people are training so hard, or the limits of their ability to train hard, but it's the lifestyle piece that's kicking their asses.
With kids, is it something you guys seen kind of like with your children's friends, or is it you just want to kind of like work backwards? You've seen a lot of great athletes that are already messed up when they come to you, and you want to go back and like try to repair people before they get.
I think it's all those
jacked up.
things.
Yeah, I think it's partly that this is our chance to put stuff in place so kids can learn how to move and not
Set
get
things
injured.
straight from
right.
the beginning.
On some level, all of us are, we're too old to fix, and
Right.
we have to. There has to be a different way of doing it because what's happening now is not working, especially not
Let's
with
talk
kids.
about that for a second. Too old to fix. You're not very flexible, right?
I'm not very flexible.
And then this supple leopard here,
No.
obviously,
Yes.
he can move all sorts of
You know,
weird
Yeah.
contorted
Little
ways.
known fact about Juliet: Juliet had juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, right?
Whatever that is.
JRA. And so
think so. You made it up.
can you straighten your finger out for us? It's stuck bent right there. So when she gets all fired up at me,
Straighten it out.
I don't want to.
touch it,
like
Mike.
ET
Pull
and
my
shit.
finger.
It's stuck
It
bent.
won't-
Very ET like.
So when Juliet points,
Mine when it's limp, like
don't,
I can.
I don't even know what you're talking
It's
about.
Yeah.
let's go
Bro,
with
it's
this.
my wife's
sack.
Yeah.
Sack.
Sounded like
Your finger. Well, and his finger goes both ways. Apparently. Yeah.
I know it's right.
Your
It's little-
fingers go backwards, right?
Yeah, but I can bend it, and hers is hard.
Yeah, mine
Hers
goes
is
hard.
Mine's limp, and hers is hard.
All right.
That's why my kids are gonna be
That's
okay.
hard.
When she points with 2 fingers because this was always felt weird to her. So she points with double fingers, and then she points
your point across
somewhere
a little bit
near you, and so she starts pointing at you. And I'm like, who are you pointing at? And she goes, whoa, and that fires her up.
Because he's saying that I'm like pointing
Yeah.
over there where my
That's
fingers
10
go. I'm
degrees.
like,
bullshit.
what
I'm
are you
like,
talking about?
what's bullshit over there? But so to my credit, or I just say it's not an excuse, but Juliet can't straighten her elbow out. Her hips
I'm
are a
pretty
little
messed up.
tight.
Your
Hips are a
elbow's the
little tight.
same thing.
It's not as bad, but yes.
Show
How
us.
did you get so
Show
jacked
us.
bench pressing, man?
She is pretty
Well,
jacked.
she does
Because
this
I know
partial
Mark
range.
Bell.
She's
It's
really
just-
good at that.
I
partial range.
just hang around with Mark Bell.
What's your background?
Rubs off.
I
Sports-wise.
was a rower in high school and college. I rowed at Cal, and then I was
Damn.
a whitewater
Say it.
paddler on the national
Say it.
team for 5 years. 2-time world champion. This
Holy
hurt. This
shit.
hurts.
Aren't you a world
this hurts
champion?
the
A little
K-star.
Yeah, sort of.
There's actually 2 world champions at this table,
Bam.
and there's one of us who was not world champion at the table. Were you world champion?
I mean, that's something.
I was 3rd in the world once. But apparently in my house, that sucks.
Yeah, that does suck.
Yeah. In fact, that's actually how Juliet and I met each other. We were at the World Championships in Chile.
Oh, hola.
And you're like, hey, woman, get over here. Hey, woman, check out my mobility.
There was Juliet's maiden
Is
name.
that how it happened?
Something like that. Juliet's maiden name was Wiscombe. And I remember looking at the wall and being like, Juliet Wiscombe. Wiscombe. Like, that girl's
What's
cute.
gonna be?
Wiscombe.
Yeah.
And the short, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say what really sealed the deal, though, is I saved him.
Oh.
You're drowning?
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
Oh, I thought you meant, like in a religious.
Oh, no,
religious
no,
way or
no, I
something.
didn't
Well,
save him.
Oh, that's May.
No. Yeah, that's a given. That as well. But.
Well, if there was it's a metaphor for our relationship, business partnership, and the way we raise our kids and everything, is that Juliet was like the hand of God, reaching out. Literally, the women had pulled over to scout this really scary Class 5 rapid.
Were you like really drowning, or were you like, I'm drowning?
Yeah.
Save me! The water's too much.
This says all. This is
Oh,
all.
how about the hot blonde?
yeah.
You can save me.
I'm in a boat, but I'm drowning.
like
Oh,
Lois
my
Lane.
lungs are filling with water
again.
I
Can't talk or breathe.
We the men all kept our life jackets really loose so you could move and you're all good.
cool.
The problem when you fall in the water and your life jacket's loose is it floats up over your face.
Oh, no.
And it's really hard to save your
So
life.
it doesn't work that way.
That's
It
a
actually doesn't work.
the girls,
Feeding the entire purpose.
the women,
Fashion.
pretty much. But you look good and you feel good as a man.
And you don't get as bad tan lines, I
That's
bet.
right. 'Cause it
I
fits.
get it.
Yeah.
The girls get in and literally like they lever and pull it tight and they have little can't come along, so just wrench it down and they exhale like horses.
It's like a girdle.
Makes them
Shit up.
skinnier.
Yeah, and then they're like, "Chip." And so when they fall in, it's just fine. They just get up. So the women pull over, and the men, we're like, me and my friend were like, hey, the women have just pulled over. We should scout this too. And our friends were like, no, we scouted it from up there on the road. We're like, that's like a half mile up. You can't really see how big everything is from a half mile up. They're like, chicks, we're not doing it. So we go down, and in 2 seconds are offline,
True fact. That's the whole
sideways in the scariest. There's a wave, a lateral that's as big as this room, like the ceiling. We float up sideways into it, almost upstream flip, barely survive. Then we float sideways with no speed into the next one.
Damn.
And I literally see my best friend reach back into this wall of water, and he's looking at me, and the water came out around him like a silhouette, and I was like, it's so beautiful. And then I got crushed. Like, just hammered, crushed, came up, took a breath.
They'd flipped before the rapid. They weren't even in the rapid yet.
Then I swam into what my southern friends would call the fuck. I swam into the fuck. And swam into this place, was pushed
What does that
down,
even mean?
Like, deep. The hole was
The
called...
hole's the size of like a school bus.
Oh.
And
The
so
rapid's the
swam
size
into
of
the
a
school
school
bus.
all right.
Yeah.
Swam into this maelstrom like a frog in a blender. And then got pushed to the bottom of the river and literally was underwater tightening my life jacket and just getting my ass kicked. And it was deep. It was black. And much like you, Silent Mike. And
Hey now.
hey now.
Deep in black.
And
Hey now.
I came to the surface.
Sounds like a cup of coffee.
My $300 paddle was floating off, my carbon paddle. And my friends like...
How much is that paddle?
Like $300.
What the
Let it go because I'm saving for my life. Not only do the girls save the paddles, but literally Juliet was like, don't panic, I'm here to save you.
I pulled him in.
My name's Jay Starr.
Did the water just part and everything?
Yeah,
Did
she
that?
walked out there.
And pretty much I was her
Little
like,
halo.
I was her like water Sherpa the rest of the time.
What you should also know is his hair was dyed white blonde at this time. When I met him.
Eminem.
Full Eminem
little
style.
Eminem style.
You know,
white
if you're going to Chile, you should stand out.
So then she pulls you out of the water. She says, we're getting fucking married, and we're going to open up a gym.
It's pretty
That's
much
exactly what happened.
Is that sort of how it went?
Pretty much.
It's so weird. It's like I was there. Well, fast forward a couple years. Let's talk about your the gym that you had.
Yeah, well, this is we start
Together.
We start San Francisco CrossFit.
It's a parking lot, really. It wasn't really. A
No,
gym.
it wasn't like even a parking lot. It was like a forgotten,
It was
broken
so
parking
weird.
lot.
So weird.
So weird.
Who found
Dumpsters,
CrossFit
glass on the ground.
and why and how?
I was looking for information on Olympic lifting with dumbbells, and I found this weird site with all these guns.
For your
on it.
biceps or something?
I don't know.
Why'd you even want to do that?
Because I just
Pec deck.
Pec deck.
Hashtag Pec Deck.
Yeah,
I've
there you
used
go.
that like 3 times since.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
Somebody used a slingshot and
Yeah,
a
did you
pec
see
deck
that?
the other day.
Oh,
No.
And people got so mad. I posted it.
Yeah,
and
people got angry.
And all we did is hashtag
Seriously?
Pec
People
Deck.
got
And people
mad.
are like, oh, now Mark Bell's trying to sell a Pec Deck slingshot? Like, how lame is he?
Seriously.
And,
They're so
but
mad.
other people were like, "Oh my god, that would totally work." It's
Yeah.
like, end range, it hurts so bad.
And like, I literally had to go on there and comment, like, it was just a joke. We thought it was funny. And the guy who it was, who we don't know, came on and apologized, like, sorry for trying to be creative. I was like, no, dude, you're all right.
No, what you do is you put the handle. Instead of putting it on your sleeves, you put the handles on the pec deck handles.
There you go.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like accommodating resistance pec deck right
Yeah.
there.
It is. Sounds like West Side.
But the
But better.
let's get back to
70.
parking lot.
Seventies.
gym.
He's
Back
West
to the
Side.
parking lot.
Back to the parking lot gym.
But here's the deal is that we all have been training forever together. You've been lifting weights and training. I don't know how long you've been lifting weights and training.
Long time.
This is what we're seeing is that the training age, or maybe your formal training age starts like you start lifting weights at 15, maybe 14, but were you prepared for that? And what we've seen since we opened the gym almost 10 years ago now is that like there's a stinking hole in the universe about people understanding anything. How to squat, how to deadlift, basics.
One of the reasons for that, I just from what I've seen, is that people don't have the same base as they used to. CrossFit helps solve a lot of problems, but because CrossFit doesn't have there's not a lot of machines in CrossFit. I know people are going to blow up and get all pissed about machines, but
Now you're just trying to
You know,
sell
just-
slingshots.
yeah, just like a simple way to row, a simple way to do a lat pull down, some curls. I mean, all these different movements that have been great movements for years and years. People don't have that foundation anymore, and we're seeing people come into the gym, and not only do they not move well, it's kind of a combination of the two. They don't move well, and they're extremely weak.
Well, like everything else, right? Lifting's evolved. So 70s, everybody's squatting, deadlifting, curling, all the bodybuilders, Arnold, blah, blah, blah. 80s still a little bit. 90s, it's purely machines. You walk into a gym and you can't even find a squat rack. And then now we're starting
It's
to creep.
too far one way.
Yeah, now we're starting to creep back to the other way. where we probably should be somewhere in the middle the whole time.
Dan John talked, bless his little heart. It's like, do some power curls. Like you have a prom curling. Do something that looks like a power clean.
Hip extension in the sack. That's what I learned today.
Exactly. But
I have seen Kelly doing a few curls.
I'm not going to lie because
curls.
you know what sells? Mark Bell's arms. Let's just be honest.
This is true.
This is all about Mark Bell's arms.
About
that
pipes.
rhyme.
You got to have the pipes.
You know what sells?
Mark Bell's arms.
Mark
Bell's smells.
Mark's arms bells.
We got to work on these raps. That's a whole other show.
The rap master.
Yeah.
I don't think we're doing enough pulling in that position. We're not, and there's some. The key is I think people rejected. Okay, everything from bodybuilding is dumb,
Right.
which is not the case. Those guys know how to put mass on better than everyone else. They find holes. I mean, like it's really
Balance.
Yeah, balance. I mean, really, I think it's
they're
great.
meticulous.
They are meticulous, but you can. I think we're seeing people drop these pieces back in. There are a lot more bent over rows now, back in the game, and like everything else, people just need time to adapt. And just to bring this back in is that at some point, I think Erwan LaCour of MoveNat was saying that he saw a correlation. Every kid could do a pull up, had a tree in his backyard.
That totally makes sense.
And why is it that Juliet is just like a good athlete? Part of it is she has this extreme suffering training age, and I think we see kind of two skills here. One is kids aren't ever going to get strong; they need to move right. I don't know what your age were when your testicles finally descended.
27.
Yeah.
What day
It
is
actually hasn't happened yet.
I planned it for next
Juliet's
July.
Juliet's never descended. She just has a hidden testicle somewhere. I'm sure of it, and I'm so jealous.
Just one?
At least Google Maps.
Her and Katie Hogan, I think.
I
Google
know,
Maps.
You literally were like, Marcus described someone. Are they fit enough? They have the sideways arm vein.
Yeah, when you go in horizontal anywhere, you're lean.
Oh, I don't have any of those.
I bet you do somewhere. Flex
you
up.
Do. You do.
Get some carbs in her. Get some carbs and some push-ups.
Get some puff. Let's go some puff. But sideways vein here. She literally. We're seeing that kids don't have a movement background of all, right? And we used to throw it away. We're like, kids just need to do martial arts, or I think or some kind of dancing or some kind of gymnastics. We can be a little bit more specific now about why those things work. We understand that now. But one of the things we're seeing in the game is that people just do not have the engine to sort of sustain the level of training.
Right.
Think about football. It's just as a bad example, but do you remember suffering in 2-a-days?
Oh, yeah, it's horrible.
And pushing the sled and running
brutal.
At age 14, I was gang raped in Virginia.
In the Virginias?
You're not in Germany? I'm so confused.
No. I played in that.
You gonna break down?
I played in that football league. Remember the Titans, that football league?
Right.
Yeah.
And there were 100 kids on the freshman football team.
Holy.
And it was 100 degrees and 98% relative humidity. It was I was literally right from the mountains in Germany. I had lederhosen on. And I was like, what is this? I'm going to die.
Drinking beer in between, between snaps.
Coach, I'm allowed 2 beers between at lunch, right? And but I think about
Kill that German queer. Why do they keep saying that?
What
That's
league?
what happened.
What league was it?
He's gonna break down on the show.
Do you remember the football movie? Remember the Titans?
Yeah, it was my favorite move ever.
Oh,
Are you
that one might be
Sunshine?
Too young for that movie.
Oh,
Is
yeah,
Denzel
I'm not gonna
Washington
say
your
I'm
coach?
I don't have enough hair to be Sunshine. Mark Bell has enough hair to be
I have
Sunshine.
some hair, but it's coming back.
I was more like the fat kid, I guess.
Yeah, there was a huge fat white guy in there.
That was me. But my point is that look at Juliet. When Juliet started suffering, 15 rowing, you cannot hide that old, ability to
Started
do
suffering
work.
at 15. That's normal.
That's when she had her
What are we
first child.
What are we talking about here?
Yeah, when did testicles come into this?
When are testicles not part of the conversation in this group? But we're seeing that kids don't know how to move, and they don't have this background of running and sprinting and sprinting.
They're a bunch of
sprinting.
We
sissies.
spent our whole childhood making fun of the president's physical fitness test,
Right.
and now we're like, if only our kids had to do the president. If our kids
Shuttle
could
run,
just
40-yard
do
shuttle
that.
run. How legit is that?
Yeah.
An 800-meter run.
Even the remember
Yeah.
we had to do the
Brutal. Oh, we're gonna make these little kids run 800 meters.
we had to do a mile run and climb a rope, and we had to do the flexed arm hang. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah.
And, your legs would be all.
Yeah.
And now we think if only our kids even
Standing
did
broad
that
jump.
as a basic.
Yeah.
Amazing, right?
Yeah, I mean, hip extension.
Well, there's
In the sack.
school.
sack.
When you go through school, there's a progression of each class that you go to. there's not a good progression of physical education. That's the main problem that I see.
And there's no emphasis on it at all anymore.
There's none, yeah.
They're not
So
even getting
we think
it.
there should
Like,
be like
"Oh,
it
this
should be.
kid's too
We think
fat,
it
he
should be
can't do
on
it."
your report card. Like, can you perform a overhead squat? Okay,
Right.
no, yes or no.
How about
and
can you pick your backpack up and not
yeah,
wreck your
can
back?
you pick your backpack up without rounding your back? I mean, there's literally like we could set up a set of like 10
Right.
standards for each grade, and that should be like on the kid's report card, and the
Right.
parents should know if they're not able to perform that basic stuff.
I remember my older son not being able to skip, and that was like a big issue with the teacher, with the kindergarten teacher.
Those queer Germans.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, so somewhere, but he's like a year older than Mike, so
Yeah.
2 years older than Mike. So it's not been that long.
I can skip like a
lost-
Right,
motherfucker
they
if you guys are
noticed-
wondering.
They noticed that.
Right, they
Yeah.
did, yeah.
Well, so I guess where we're seeing now and where I'm starting to feel hopeful is that there are enough people engaged in the strength and conditioning world where they can start to make a difference in their local clubs. Like
Yeah.
if you think you know how to squat, go down to your kid's school and volunteer, or go to your friend's kid's school.
That's a good point.
And like get involved with movement training.
Right.
Don't even make it about weight.
Yeah.
You know, literally the system doesn't work. Buckminster Fuller, the thinker philosopher, is like, you're never going to overturn the current paradigm, the model, unless you propose an alternate model that's better, that has everyone reject the old model. And so you're not going to go into schools like, you know, we got to get kids squatting. You know, I mean, like, how safe is powerlifting? Honestly,
how come kids know how to squat originally, and then as they get older,
When they're like 3.
that falls
Part of
apart?
it's the
Is it just
shoe,
because you stop?
shoes and sitting. We think
Sitting.
shoes and
Shoes and
sitting are
sitting.
the biggest problem.
but I think you know,
just stop moving that
people have
much,
this.
though, too,
People have
right?
this conversation a little bit about.
I mean, you stop doing that at like what, 4, 5? You
We-
stop squatting down like
Well,
that.
Kelly always makes this point that you see the kids in kindergarten; they all run perfectly,
Right.
and then in first
There's
grade,
not a heel striker.
there's not a heel striker.
in
They
kindergarten.
run. They like run for the playground. They don't need to warm up. They all run perfectly, and then by first or second grade, you see the parents are starting to put the kids in those high-heeled running shoes, and like all of a sudden, half the kids are heel striking,
and
Right.
the sitting.
and then they've been sitting now.
Right.
Right? They start sitting in kindergarten.
The sitting piece, if people just, I mean, you are doing such physiologic damage to yourself. If you're a squatter, if you take your deadlifting seriously, like, stop fucking sitting all day long. Get a standing desk, get a bar stool. You can lean.
Right.
You got to do that. I don't want you to be too smoked. And sitting certainly has a technique, but you have no idea what
Yeah.
you're doing to your body. It's and what we're seeing. So let's take in a great book out right now. The guy who wrote the just an article in the New York Times a couple days ago about child play and hyperspecialization is David Epstein, who wrote the book The Sports Gene, right? New York Times guy, and brilliant book. Probably the single best book about the influence of genetics and training in the world. Talks to everyone, and if you haven't read The Sports Gene, like, put it on your Kindle tomorrow and get after it. But he goes in
Can
and
you read it to me?
Yeah, where's the audio
There's
tape?
lots of pictures.
You guys
good.
can just get on a speakerphone call, and Kelly can read it to you before bed at night.
Excellent.
That'd be great.
We'll just add it to the list, Mark.
Conference call.
Check. I mean, of books that I'm already reading too. So, I'm saying.
Yeah.
So Epstein puts in there that he interviews this researcher of mice and desire to move, because what we see is that some kids don't have this desire to move, right? And
Xbox is pretty cool.
it is cool, but and some of that is kids don't feel very good. Their mechanics are off, so they don't actually.
They're eating
enjoy
Doritos
moving.
all day.
Running doesn't feel good.
Right.
Jack
Slamming
Doritos.
my heel down, that would be different, right? If everyone's eating
another
Jack Doritos. But what ends up happening, he says, these researchers take these mice and notice that some mice run 3 miles a day, some mice run a mile a day. And they breed the 3 mile mice, and in like 2 generations or 3 generations of mice, they have mice that run 7 miles a day. Right? They have
What
these super
the-
mice that love to run.
Super nice.
So what we're seeing is there is actually a genetic component to
Right.
desire to move.
Does that have to do with the NBA or NFL?
So check this out.
Check this out. This
It might.
It does, huh?
They
Yeah.
give those kids mice. Oh, there
Kids.
it is. They give the kids Ritalin. They give mice Ritalin. Desire to move drops to back to the baseline. And I think what
Calms them
we're
down
starting
too
to
much.
see is that kids. Raising Cain is a book about kids getting
Yeah,
boys getting
boys
their
are
ass
getting
kicked
crushed now by girls in school.
Yeah.
Crushed.
because they're not moving. There's no PE, so they squirm and fidget. They get in trouble, so they
They get
feel
in
like
trouble,
they're in
so
jail.
they feel like school is jail, and and then they don't have a positive
If
association.
you have a
with
son
school.
who's in elementary school, insist that he be allowed. And if you have a daughter too, but insist that they're allowed to stand up at their desk, and there's no chair. They won't. But literally, you will solve the ADHD problem. We think it's a component to the ADHD epidemic. I mean, you just saw that toddlers are being
Well,
on
it makes
these
so much
drugs.
sense. I mean, you look at so many people with learning disabilities and things like that. They gravitate towards movement. They gravitate towards sports.
These are integrated systems. I mean,
Yeah.
you have to. So I think this is why I mean, we're not talking about lifting per se, but yes, we are.
But we are, because the people who have these problems are the people who become lifters.
That's right.
I don't know how familiar you guys are with like Waldorf education and stuff like
There
that.
we go.
But that's all. That's
And
where I
you're
went,
preaching.
and they're all about stuff like that. They have
Montessori.
So they have some really weird stuff going on, and I agree with all that. But they have some normal stuff going on where every class and every subject you have, there's a visual component, an audio component, a written component, and a movement component to every class, to math, to history,
That's right.
to everything. From kindergarten to, easy Mark Bell, plug your ears. From kindergarten to like senior year of high school, we did some kind of weird interpretive dance.
Right, eurythmy.
You're right. Well, I didn't want to use the name because
Yeah,
nobody would know what it is.
That's what it's called.
So, my body awareness, I don't know, but I'm sure if you checked it, was probably way above some of these public school kids that were my same age.
Of course.
Oh, that's huge.
Can you do
That's
a
awesome.
super training interpretive dance right now for
minus
us?
the name you with me.
Yeah, I can dance.
As an online feature, we're going to do an interpretive dance to Mark Bell's life.
But just to finish what Kelly was saying about the sports gene, he is suggesting that we are diagnosing maybe some of our best and greatest future athletes as ADHD kids when they're
Right.
kids.
And
Yeah,
then
shut them down.
drugging it out of them.
Drugging them out of them and literally suppressing their desire to be awesome. And then we'll never see those kids playing in the NFL or being our greatest ever athletes.
And something
frustrating.
that has kind of happened to us is we suddenly found ourselves in the last 10 years around some really, really good athletes in every sport. And so suddenly we're like, oh yeah, he squats 1,000, he
Yeah,
squats 11.
everything's
Everything is just they're mutants. And so what ends up happening that really normalized for us, like it's just all our friends are big, or all our friends have 3 lungs. This is totally typical.
Right.
Or they're all pitchers in the NBA.
Right.
Right? That's weird. Major League Baseball.
Sack.
Sack with a K. So 3K. No wait.
We're in sack.
Yeah.
Oh, we're in somewhere else. But
the issue is we started asking really a different set of questions. And if training really is about self-actualization, and we were talking about the difference between deadlifting, a heavy thing feels different. Squatting is sort of terrifying.
yeah,
There's
mentally and
weights
physically.
on your back
Obviously, they're
and
different.
And I
but yeah.
think people are a lot more in tuned with what's going on relative to their body mechanics
Yeah.
squatting because you feel like you may die.
Yeah.
You get stapled to the earth.
For example, even take that further, I don't think anyone's ever missed a rep on a good morning. Because you're not that dumb. You're not going to try a good morning that you're going to miss. Think about that.
I'm thinking about the Smith machine,
think of-
YouTube.
Yeah,
no,
think
but
about
you're absolutely right.
You know what I mean? You're not gonna miss
It's
a
very
rep on a
different.
good morning and get you know what I mean? Because it's just you're too scared.
Well,
If
the
you have
weight is
400
right.
pounds on your back,
Yeah, it's right behind your freaking head.
roll over your head. And
Well, it
everything
either
else.
goes up or it doesn't, too. I mean,
Yeah.
you strain against a little bit. It's not like you start a
Right.
good morning that you don't finish. You either get it up or you don't,
Huh?
Exactly.
Get it up or you don't.
So, if training is really about self-actualization, right? We like to train. It makes us better husbands. It makes us better wives.
Better lovers.
Better thinkers.
It improves the romantic energy.
I was just
Romantic
gonna say
energy.
Romantic energy. We just learned this.
There's a lot at this table right now.
Phrase.
I'm so glad the
it's,
cameras are on because the
it's
look
cooking.
between the two of them was priceless.
Romantic energy. What's the number one ingredient?
Romantic energy.
Romantic energy. The
Juliet, do another set of deadlifts.
I'll spot you.
Juliet, we got to go home.
But let's just take this a step further. Let's say if this is why we all train. It's not just for healthy heart. Like it should be about self-actualization and better kids and better. So we just take the best practices and spin them backwards. Like we didn't give a crap about whether people sat or not until it started fucking up people's hips, until it started messing their backs.
Yeah.
We just ran into this deadlift who, he only deadlifts in the high fives.
Wimp.
Right? But he was rounding at he could basically barely set up. His upper back would round. And then as soon as he did a multiple set, boom, rounded. And so, everyone agrees, hey, you shouldn't round your back. But
Right.
every single rep this guy ever does is with a rounded back. Every single one. Not he gets tired or,
Yeah.
like one time Jesse.
Turning a fishing pole every time.
That's right.
Yeah.
Jesse rounded at 840 or something at a meeting.
Right.
I was like, why'd you round, Jesse? And he was
Yeah.
like, it was 840 pounds.
You got heavy.
He's like, it's not my fault. And but so when we get to the bottom of that for this guy, right? Turns out he doesn't have any he doesn't have any hip flexion. He literally, when he pushed it, he's like, I can't stop it.
What's hip flexion, doctor?
Bringing your knee up to your chest.
There you
So
go.
his knee stops precisely at the height of the chair. He's a computer guy.
Yeah.
And so literally,
And your knee should like raise up to about
You
your
could
rib
even
cage
see
or
that.
so.
You could see that on the 60 Minutes piece when
Yeah,
Kelly was working
I
with
saw
the
him
Saints.
do
He has them bring up, and like all the guys get
stuck.
up to exactly 90 degrees.
Yeah, and a
and
couple
these
guys
are
are trying to
NFL
lean back and
players.
they're trying to cheat. Right?
So what happens
They're
if
playing video games
What
when they're
happens
not
if
at
you
practice.
you squat below 90? Well, you start to see reversal, and you can't help it. It's not you. It's
Yeah.
your mechanics. So we suddenly were like, oh, no wonder back pain is a fucking double-digit trillion-dollar problem. It's like a $200 billion problem in America.
One of the simplest things I've ever heard you say is just that people are not getting below parallel just in their everyday life. Like they're not squatting down. And you got the 10-minute squat challenge where people just kind of sit there.
And I thought that bar was low. I'm like,
I think
let's
that's
just-
amazing.
let's
It's
just-
amazing.
let's
Though. You
have
think
lunch.
about it, you're like, oh no, wait, I get below I get on the toilet, I go in my car, and like you don't.
You know,
Yeah.
Never.
You never do.
Never.
You never do.
You
We
may-
had
you may
squatty
never-
potties.
Yeah.
Oh, it's squat bar. Are you
Yeah.
using it?
No, if we had them, we
I
would
love
have-
that. I love
not
that.
have
You-
the
They,
problem.
you know,
We have a squatty
I love that.
Maybe they
YouTube
should
is
sponsor us.
They redesigned
Squatty potty.
toilets so
Blow
they're
it out.
higher now. They used to be when we
Yeah.
were kids
They're-
in the
they're all
70s. They were like
handicapped toilets
4
now.
inches.
70s summer, kids. Here we
70s,
go.
Back to the 70s.
A 70 shitter?
TV dinner.
But I mean, that's something simple. Like anybody who's listening who has mobility issues, it's something simple. If they just do some squats nearly every day, you don't have to squat with weight on your back. Just get yourself in a squat position nearly every time you go to the gym.
What's a fix for
Gonna
that?
improve your
Well,
mobility.
Because everybody does have it, like a mobility action rather than just not
if you
sitting.
if you search hip capsule
Okay.
or like the hip capsule movement, we call it the Donnie Thompson. You know,
Right.
Donnie was missing a whole bunch of hip flexion range, trying to break the world record.
Right, and
Right.
kind of round his back towards the
Yeah,
bottom
and
of the lift,
when you
right?
have 1,300 pounds on your back, doesn't go very well.
yeah.
And you know, every time he had 12 something on, he would round. And
Yeah.
we just took that hip flexion, improved his hip flexion, showed him how to fix it, and then literally with you,
He
crush it.
1265. He did the stretches during the contest itself.
Yeah,
And then he broke the world record.
And all we did was fix his hip capsule. So the issue is that I think these things should be ubiquitous and free. The deadlift, you have to have a little bit more hip range because you're going to close the hip more. So the hip stuff, like if you don't put the deadlift in there, it's a diagnostic tool to be able to see can you bring your chest to your thighs. And no wonder we started picking up sumo, and I know it allows us to keep torso upright, but it also got rid of the problem.
Yeah.
And you know, and I like that we force people to pull conventional because you have to be able to see that.
Right.
And if you just bend over and you can't keep your fucking back flat to pick 135 pounds or 225 pounds, like that is performance on the table.
Yeah, it's pretty diagnostic.
And it's easy because I know you can do it. I know you can do it for a long time, and you may or may not ever get hurt. You know, a lot of guys are bracing into that position, and they don't actually change under load, which is what I would call a second order ideal, right? If I can, lumbar is flat and I round my upper back,
Yeah.
and I'm rigid, like Jesse does this amazing deadlift where his low back to his lumbar spine, up into his lower thoracic levels are rigid, and then his upper back just goes like a cobra and
Yeah.
locks.
Yeah, he drops his shoulders real deep.
Right,
Yeah.
and then he locks into position, but there's no change in any of that movement, and he
Right.
does it really fast too. He's
Right.
so efficient, but his lumbar doesn't change. So when I see people deadlifting like that, I'm like, okay, maybe there's some more room in there, or maybe not. But when we see people changing position under load, it's that translation under load that people should understand that is evil. It's that
Right.
the rounding and reversal of spinal position is 10 times as insidious as pulling with a fixed rounded back.
Right.
And I think people aren't seeing and understand that difference.
Right.
That we can get away with fixed rounded flexion.
Well, also, a lot of people are seeing the heaviest lifts when they look on YouTube and they watch somebody do a deadlift. They watch Rich Froning do a deadlift, or they watch a powerlifter do a deadlift.
Freud doesn't round anymore.
Well, I'm just saying you're normally watching like
Yeah,
here-
a
here-
PR.
Here's my
right.
fifth rep of 505 or something like that. So it's like the guy's going to get a little shaky and a little messed up
right.
towards the very end of his workout.
Which is 5% of his entire workout.
You're right,
Right.
right, exactly. And so it's not like the guy's training that way the entire time, and it's not as intentional.
Hopefully
around his
not.
back.
Well-
it's just that the weight's getting so damn heavy, they start to lose
this-
position a little bit.
This is something that Juliet and I started doing. Is we started saying, okay, let's not excuse that, but let's use, because what we're finding is that athletes are so well trained now.
I think you can avoid it and still get stronger.
Yeah.
You can.
But we're seeing that athletes are totally. But athletes are so strong and very fit. We need to see you at the heaviest loads to see how we can make you better.
Right.
I need to see you at day 3 of your competition to really see what your condition tendencies are.
Yeah.
And if the problem is, I don't think people are like, think about how many videos of you watching yourself squatting that you've made, right?
Right.
A lot. But how many times have you gone back to the meat video and watched every single rep carefully and said, how can I make that better? You're
Right.
like, oh, I just missed it. And you move on to the next one, or I
Yeah.
put it,
Why is
but-
that so new to lifting, but so normal everywhere else.
This is the same conversation we had with the Lillibridges.
Well, I was about to say, how about
Lillibridge
basketball and
family.
football? Do you watch, do the Chicago Bulls watch themselves shooting around warm-ups like, oh, my form looks good? Or do they watch game tape going full speed and say, I need to fix this then?
Well,
It's so simple, but we don't think about it that way in lifting.
And remember, the lifting is the diagnostics. It's easy to see. It's slower. I can see what's going on. It's
Right.
very formal.
Right.
So I was saying, hey, look, if we NFL, our friend John Wellborn of CrossFit Football was like, they filmed every rep I ever took, every snap, and we talked about every single one. Imagine if we tore apart every single warm-up deadlift you did, every single max deadlift you did, looked at your foot position.
Right.
What were you thinking there at 600? That was ridiculous. You're off the team. You know?
Right, we're done.
Let's get Mike in here. You know, like you'd be very different.
Yeah.
Right.
So not only are we missing an opportunity to really get better and figure out what's going on, but also we need to see what these good athletes look like under freakish amounts of stress, because then you can see it.
We had Mike do some squats with the Lillibridge family. They came in and a couple weeks ago to do a meet, and we had Mike just use like 315. I was like, oh, that's probably like a decent amount of weight. The guy can give him some advice. He really couldn't give him enough advice. I mean, he still walked us through a squat and gave a lot of great squatting information.
I was
but-
too perfect
But
at
no,
315.
315 is way, it's way too light.
Yeah.
It should have probably took him up closer to 500 or 550 range somewhere. in
Really
there.
see, and then you can
Right.
see the errors. So you can see that it matters how you take it out of the
But
rack.
they said
suddenly.
exactly what you were saying. I mean, they do not allow people to use more weight until it looks just right. They just won't allow it. If you do 135, even if you're stronger, even if you're strong enough to squat 315, you do 135 messed up, you're going to do it again and again and again until you do it the right way. Then you progress to the next weight.
And the question is, why are we training? If I'm powerlifting to the powerlifting end or Olympic lifting or doing a sport, then, and I don't have perfect, I might be able to buffer it for a while until I get injured. I may not
Yeah.
ever get injured because
Yeah.
there are genetic freaks amongst us who are amazing, right? But the real question is, most of us, right, casual lifters, lift for other reasons. And the real issue is, why am I letting myself hack or twist or, we put up we put a snapshot of an athlete just front squatting 135. Is that what it was? She was front squatting 135.
Yeah, she was front squatting 135.
It's Lindsay Valenzuela, like really, really strong athlete, former national.
Pretty jacked and tan.
Super jacked and tan. But her right foot is totally turned out, and you're like, whatever, Starrett, it doesn't matter. It's 135. She's throwing up and down. Her engine's so big. Ankles collapsed. Whatever. She walked off there, but her left hip was 2 inches lower than her right hip. Right.
We see that a lot in powerlifting.
And all of a sudden, you look at that twist, and you need to see her in the middle of that piece under heavy loads to really see where she starts to default or can't buffer anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm like, look, that's how much better she can get. That kid.
Well,
that,
and how much worse does that look when she's doing a clean and she's receiving
And she's
touching the
tired.
weight?
Yeah.
Well,
And she's tired.
potentially we're
135 is
practicing.
not even heavy for her.
No,
Right.
she's ridiculous,
Yeah.
right?
It's
And that's
light
the
for
problem.
her.
We've confused
Yeah.
that people are mutants with, hey, there's opportunities to get better, and we're not seeing that even if our kids are picking up backpacks wrong, and if we're not,
Right.
we're not, the best. This is the best. If you want to assess someone's abilities, cognitive abilities, do they understand how to move, right? Do they have a strategy even? Because even if someone has they're totally stiff, but they understand how to protect themselves, and you're
Right.
like, pass. Right? Have someone just walk into the gym and pick up 2 dumbbells off the ground.
Yeah, there you go.
Or just make it easier. How about 2 kettlebells? Just lift those kettlebells up for me, and you're going to see horror, happen. And you're like, well, why is that okay?
I like the box squat too. We end up seeing all kinds of
Same.
disastrous
Yeah.
movement patterns with the box squat.
But I think that's what's great now is that people are so stinking savvy. I mean, Juliet is an attorney. She's the CEO.
Watch your
right?
mouth,
She's
Silent
the
Mike.
Super jump, right? She's badass, and yet Juliet can see it all. Right now, she's trained enough. The piece that I think we've got to flip this on its head on is, in the 70s, your gym teacher.
Back to the 70s.
Your 70s, your gym teacher could screen you for scoliosis. Do you remember that? Right? The girls
have a
would-
whistle
only
and
did that
short
with the
shorts?
girls.
Yeah, whistle.
Did they just do the
Yeah.
girls?
No, girls did it with, you did it like a woman gym teacher.
Oh.
Remember that little piece of
Women
paper you
did
had to
not
have?
teach in the 70s. That can't be allowed.
This is fake,
There were no
Starrett.
women teachers.
But and then literally that gym teacher would be like, spine, not straight. Ooh, go to the doctor. Right? And they started catching scoliosis
Oh,
much
so
earlier.
they kill
Yeah, I
you.
remember.
No.
Yeah, your PE teacher was a
They
gorilla.
light you on fire.
Wait a minute. So, sign some papers, old man. But But why can't we now see the same things because we're so much more sophisticated and the world has changed? Like the people who listen to this podcast know what's up. You know, they know how to squat. They know what a good squat looks like. So if you see it in a kid or in a local school, then I mean, I think that's where we're going to see this revolution happen. It's going to happen from people who are just casual users, you know, who start to band together. I mean, I sound like, you know, we can do this. We can all squat and hug it out. But if we don't do it, we're seeing that it's not getting done. We're just passing the shit on. And where it's really gotten us crazy is we look at NCAA as like a gigantic machine, $1 trillion business that built on the back of 18 to 23-year-old kids. It breaks them. It makes tons of money off them. Doesn't give them health insurance. Maybe it helps pay for college. Wink, wink.
Just started to get them food.
Right. Now you can have bagels. Right. Yeah. Have you seen the old what was that piece of literature called? It's called like the bagels, nuts, and like bagels, peanuts, and milk. Yeah. Like it's like now they can feed them.
Yeah. Before I think it was only even this year, right? It was only scholarship athletes got full free meals. If you were on a team, you weren't guaranteed free food.
Oh, it's weird too. You can't have a job, so it's not like you could work like in the office.
Yeah,
but then
that'd
you
be
walk
so
into
hard.
the university store and they're selling your whole uniform with your name on it for like $250, and you get nothing off that.
Right, you get
That's
zero.
crazy.
I hate when they did that to me.
And this is not what's great is we're seeing now. You know, we work with a lot of colleges, and we're talking to a lot of head coaches who are on the side of the players now, saying, "Hey, we're doing these kids a disservice. How do we get it better?" And they're like, how do we have them sleep better? And how do we have them, you know, what are the easy fix? An eye mask, earplugs, dark room.
If you guys don't have an eye mask, go invest.
$3.
We're gonna make a slingshot one.
We've got one.
Dude, how good is it?
There you go.
It's the best thing I've ever done.
A slingshot one, you can't even get it off. Mad Dog version. Stuck in your
You
face.
feel like you're in outer space. It's so dark.
It's yellow, but it's pitch black, right? So stiff.
Right.
I love, you know,
Bed Bath and Beyond.
has the extra
So good.
stretchy Velcro.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, compression. It compresses your skull at the same time.
Yeah.
We're onto something.
Brilliant.
true fact.
Write it down.
We did get a guy who sent us a picture of himself voodoo flossing his head, and he said it actually helped with his headaches.
That's
I
amazing.
actually understand that.
Yeah.
Maybe he was
because
just-
of the muscle tension.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It breaks up the
Yeah, he
muscle
voodoo
tension,
flossed his
yeah.
head.
That's awesome.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Don't voodoo floss your neck, people.
Yeah.
Yeah, not your neck.
Yeah, I have a lot of neck pain. What do I do?
So the issue is now is how do we spin these practices into so that actually people give a shit. We make it about performance, but we're really saying, look, you got to come out of college hopefully unharmed, you know, or at least you got a contact injury or it was a legitimate sports injury. It wasn't you got used up, and the 0.05% that went on to the pros.
It's like 0.001% of college athletes go on to be pro.
And of those people, how serious is the combine and stuff just searching down injuries?
Yeah.
I forgot who was telling me. Some friend that probably went through the combine situation, I don't know, NFL, and they're like, you're standing there in whitey tighties, and they're like, what's wrong with your knee? It's fine. Oh, no, your knee looks jacked up. What happened to your knee? They're just picking you apart because they know something's wrong, and you have to hide it, and you have to lie,
everything.
and you probably are jacked up, but that's bad.
So and that's really it. I mean, you are jacked up. So how are you going to find that jack stuff? And that's how do you even know you have a problem? And most kids, we're doing all the things that we ever did. You know, like Juliet came from a program that rowed based on volume. You know what? You know how you fix it? Let's row more. Let's do more volume. You know, no, more volume. And then when you kids,
more.
you know, we just had a girl on the national team.
Which works if you survive.
That's right. We had a girl on the national
if you
team.
can-
It does work if
Yeah.
you can survive it.
Right,
It
it worked
honestly
for me
does.
because
for
I
sure.
never got
Yeah,
injured.
just like squatting every day. There's some
Right.
people that,
Yeah.
if people can survive that, squatting heavy every day, it can work. It's just not a lot of people can survive it. It can be a mess.
You're the iron egg. Someone keeps throwing against the wall and you
Yeah.
don't break.
Yep.
We just had a girl who was an Olympian, gold medalist, and she just had her 5th rib fracture. You know, and like she keeps fracturing these ribs rowing. And, you know, she's in the gym trying to learn how to move differently, but it turns out high volume, repetitive flexion in the upper back pulling, just her serratus literally just fractured a rib. You know, over 5
Isn't that awful?
rib fractures. You know, that's the heel, fracture again, heel, like, and those are different ribs,
insane.
different sides. It's insane. So the insanity is that we aren't thinking we can fix this because sport is great, and the risk of sport is why we do it. You may, you may dislocate
That
something.
was yourself when you were competing. You injured your neck several times. You just kind of thought it was normal.
I
Right?
thought it was normal,
Like, oh,
but
it's just part of
wasn't
it.
even that wasn't me flipping upside down and hitting my head on a rock,
Right.
You know, or something awesome happening to me.
Right.
This was me being dumb, not knowing and just doing what everyone else had done before us. And I
And
think
you just thought it's normal. Like, oh, you hurt your neck. It's part of it.
yeah, everything should hurt all the time. What? It shouldn't hurt all the time?
Well, I remember going to one of your seminars, and you said the human body is meant to be pain-free. And I was like, wait a second. What the fuck on me is pain-free right now? Okay, like the middle of my forearm, like right here is pain-free, but everything else hurts.
All the time.
I'm like, what is he talking about? How can we be pain-free?
Plus, it's crazy if you go to his seminars, and it's not just one seminar, it's every one. Kelly starts at the beginning and says, how many of you in here are in pain? And it's like 99%. And it's not just one crowd, it's every crowd.
Well, a lot of times they're in their 20s, too. A lot of the CrossFitters are going to your seminars. A lot of times they're very young. So what the hell are they in pain from?
So, and once again, we're not looking around. CrossFit, like anything else, is absolutely safe as long as you don't move like a douchebag at high intensity or squat. Choose a sport. Running has the highest injury rates on the planet. The young kids, these 14-year-old girls, we work with a rowing team locally. The 14-year-old girls are pulling on the same size blade as Olympic 6'6", 230-pound men.
Wow.
And you have to ask, I'm not sure you're strong enough to pull on that blade through the water. And they're not. They physically are not strong enough to pull that. And, these kids literally can't get in a plank position, right? Don't know how to be stable, but they can find that stability. And what we've confused is we worship the clock instead of worshiping process.
Right.
Well, even just with kids in soccer, we just read this thing where they were saying that futsal was invented because kids can't. It's too much for little kids to play soccer on a full-size field. That's why futsal was invented. And so they got all these adults and they put them, hockey players, they put them on like an ice rink that was like
scaled appropriately.
Yeah,
so they were playing hockey on like what it's like for a 7-year-old kid to play on a full-size soccer court. And they all reported that it was like totally ridiculous. They all felt like they were miles apart from each other. The goal was like 4 miles away, and it was just like highlighted that like, why do we have kids playing on full-size fields and stuff?
That makes sense.
People don't think about it.
No, you don't think about it.
But this is where, recently on 60 Minutes, they did a big expose about Ambien. Because recently it's, and the reason
That's so weird, and you were on there. You were on 60 Minutes.
I wasn't on Ambien, but I was on 60 Minutes.
Yeah, see?
We saw, we got interested in Ambien because it's one of the dirtiest secrets.
Because you love drugs.
Better living through chemistry, obviously. What's it called? Endo Crush?
Endo
Crush. Extreme strength. Do I need extreme strength in my afternoon drink?
No, but in your
Tiger Woods
podcast.
does like
True
Ambien.
fact.
Yeah, you need something.
We're seeing that the ability to sleep and fall asleep is a huge problem in athletes. And there's been a couple times we've talked where I was like, I squatted heavy or pulled heavy, and I'm like, man, I was keyed up. And you're like, I'm so fired up, I can't go to sleep.
Yeah, you're nuts. Yeah,
That's
you're
right.
crazy.
What's happened is your nervous system is kicked on, and anyone who's listening can relate to this. Nervous system is kicked on. We've been drinking caffeine all day. We're all pumped up. Fire up that sympathetic nervous system. And what is the mechanism to unfire it? So we see kids who literally play professionals all the time who can't come down and fall asleep. Soldiers is a big problem, and Ambien is this dirty, dirty secret in the world. Like literally the dirtiest drug in all of sports is Ambien.
Or you can just masturbate. That works too.
Well, isn't it weird? We talked about this on Joe
Or
Rogan.
if you have a partner,
we talked about this
hit them up,
on Joe Rogan.
If you're married,
but
maybe not.
Part of the boxing fighting thing. Mike's looking around like
I don't know what you're talking about, and I think our camera's done.
Joe Rogan. We were talking about that. Part of the Thai massage thing. They got a massage and they got a little help afterwards. Right. But what's interesting though is the Ambien piece. We can't because we saw that people were not falling asleep. They're staying up till 2 or 3 in the morning. They didn't know how to downregulate. Not taking a cold shower, not doing the soft tissue work,
Not turning on John Mayer.
Not
You don't fall asleep to John Mayer?
one could fall asleep to John Mayer. Wonderland. So your body is a wonderland.
That was the best concert I've ever been to. Thanks for taking me, Kelly.
Maybe this is the time when we should talk about Kelly's special connection to Jewel.
No.
Look, we were.
She's
I was
overrated, I
young,
think.
Jewel.
I was impressionable. I was in the front row in Boulder. When I
They
went
had
to
a special
school,
connection.
and we had made eye contact. Like
What was she singing?
At
I know
least
you know.
twice.
He loves Jewel.
the entire was before she
Sang
went
it right to
nuclear.
him.
Oh.
She opened up for someone else. How's that? I know.
You're like a hipster. You were cool with her before she was cool.
And then she became uncool. And then, anyway, needless to say, she's a really good poet. Okay, let's leave it at that. Most successful poet in American history. True
Really?
fact. Look it up.
Really?
I
Really? Yeah.
I had no idea.
Bitch.
Just in terms of
Don't you
sales.
guys read around
Yeah,
here?
who judges
No.
success? What's the scale of success?
All right, okay, so let me go back to Ambien, right? John Ambien. It turns out women don't process Ambien or drugs at the same level that men do.
Right.
But all of our studies have been done the same. We're
So
starting to
girls
see-
don't get as high as us.
They get 3 times.
What?
The Ambien
Rage.
is crazy on the amount of dosage, and we're seeing that across the board. So extrapolate that into, we're looking at Stacy Sims of Osmo. She's Osmo Nutrition, the kind of best hydration thinking. She's a professor at Stanford, local genius. She's like, oh, look, it turns out women have radically different hydration needs and post-recovery needs than men do. Well, that only applies 50% of the athletes in our world.
Right, yeah.
But like, we keep making these stinking errors over and over and over again. It's a disaster.
But isn't
We've
that
gotta-
crazy that they just figured that out now? Someone was like, wait, all the studies on all pharmaceuticals that have ever been done have only ever been done on men? And maybe
easier to
women's
study.
Maybe there's a
like
difference.
isn't that
There's
crazy?
no
Like
difference.
that just occurred to someone like
Yeah.
last year.
Do
That's
women
great.
have a much higher rate of that? Those bizarre side effects from Ambien that men do, like that.
Yeah,
like,
driving and
and
Do you know why? Because they're at blood levels that are 2 or 3 times that of you. It's freakish.
And that's not based on size.
No, it's based on sex.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just can't process it before.
So you guys are taking steps here. You've worked with elite athletes for a long time. And now you're trying to go more global, more average Joe.
Or let's take all the things we're learning, working with everyone.
Right.
And let's
Represent
overturn the
everyone.
apple cart. Overturn the
So,
apple cart.
J-Star, the brains behind this whole matter.
True fact.
When are we getting a TV show for Kelly here? You know, we have Dr.
Yeah,
Oz
what's
on
going on
there.
with that?
Dr. Oz is what, a heart surgeon, he claims, and he's trying to tell me how to eat and lift weights. Kelly,
And yet he could reach into you and squeeze your heart.
yeah, teach me about the
Like
heart.
Temple
That's
of
going to be a
Doom.
great show. And what did you
Examples
what did
you
he
can
label
pull.
himself on 60 Minutes? I don't want to talk to any of those three anymore.
Human performance enhancement.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, that was awesome.
So-
'Cause that was off the cuff.
Yeah, yeah.
was
How do we not
It's
have
only the third
human
one ever.
performance
Yeah.
enhancer TV? And you actually teach us things that people need to know. I don't need to know that green tea burns fat because it fucking doesn't. You can't eat McDonald's and drink green tea all day and get jacked. Well, there's two really jacked people
Wait
at this
a minute. table.
Well-
One is J-Star and one is Mark.
I know,
How
true,
many?
true.
How much green tea have you drank to get jacked?
I don't ever drink any.
All
green
right,
tea.
fuck you, Dr. Oz.
What I'll say
Discredited.
is,
School.
we would never rule out the possibility of a TV show. We may even be talking to some people this summer about that. But we're always open to opportunities.
If you need a
is what I'll say.
comedic writer, got
There
you.
you go.
I got your.
Here's what's happened is that this is all, it's all formed. Do you guys know Kurt Vonnegut?
Nope.
yeah.
He has this concept called the karass. I think it's from Cat's Cradle, right?
Okay.
The karass is a group of people that God gets together to get work done for him. That's what he calls it. And you don't know why that motherfucker's in
Can I
your...
be part of your karass?
You are
You
in
already-
my
already
karass.
in the
Oh, you're
karass.
in.
I'm such a karasshole.
Chloe Karassian. What we're seeing is that literally the forces for good and change are coalescing. People are figuring it out. The podcast has like, let's take Joe Rogan for an example. Right? That guy has brought in people and talk about paleo nutrition and fighting and
Right.
expose like NASCAR meets. I mean, like the people who listen to that show are legit and really smart, and they're like, I've never heard of that before.
They're all
Why
high
would
though,
you?
right?
Right.
They must all be women because women get higher.
Higher.
It's true.
That's what I
Once
learned
you
in
get
this
higher.
conversation.
That's right. Chicks cannot hold the smoke. That's what it is.
Oh my god. Oh my god. That's it.
I've only had 6 Adderalls and one extreme strength.
Yeah, they-
Endure a crush.
One kill cliff.
One
Two.
kill
And a
cliff,
cup
I
of-
know.
And 2 cups of coffee.
Yeah, black tea, green tea. Are you burning fat? You just drank tea.
Well, how about this?
You're looking
all,
leaner.
All the tea was phosphatidylserine. I think that's really the issue. A lot of that
It's like an anti-estrogen thingy.
yeah,
Oh.
it keeps you
and memory.
anticortisol.
Neurotransmitter.
Yeah.
and it keeps the cortisol down a little bit.
Yeah. I
So,
love that stuff.
Yeah, there's a
That's the
whole
only one
bunch
that
of
works,
things.
as far as I know.
Phosphatidylserine works. 5-HTP before you go to bed,
yeah,
like
yeah.
ZMA. That little cocktail. I mean, people have been talking about that forever.
Muscle cocktails.
Muscle cocktails.
Do you think the
Anabolic.
Do you think the television world is ready for a Kelly Starrett television show?
Yeah,
I kind of
yeah.
The first time I met him, I kind of thought that. I remember, talking to him and meeting him and stuff, and I was like, how come this guy's like, he's not like selling anything. He's just like giving people these stupid lacrosse balls. I'm like, he should have like his own ball. Like,
Where's your balls, bro? Where's your balls?
Ball or something.
What business are you in? Blue balls.
I felt
Star
the same
balls.
way, Mark Bell.
Yeah, I was like, this guy's so dumb. He's so smart but so stupid.
Yeah, I was like, why don't we have our own ball?
He's like training people in a parking lot. It's all fucking windy and shit.
It was
He's
windy.
got the worst shitter in the history of the world. You want to talk
Whatever.
about
Oh my
people?
God,
You want to
that
talk
was
about
awesome.
poop stories?
No,
That's
wait,
some
Holy shit!
I gotta put
Anybody
company on
ever
that.
been there before?
The
San
Taj
Francisco
Mahal was the
CrossFit.
greatest
the
part.
Taj
Woo! My dad nearly died in there. He did. He almost died in there.
Hey, man, I almost killed your dad the second time.
Yeah, with the
I know you were asking about the gym earlier, but what I want to say is maybe the parking lot of dreams was the greatest marketing coup that two people ever pulled off.
It was
because we
amazing.
actually managed to make people think
Right.
that
Cachet.
working out and
It's like the
doing
devil.
burpees.
I don't exist.
Like people were doing burpees in broken glass next to a dumpster, and
Yeah.
they thought it was awesome.
I couldn't
It
believe
When,
may have-
when
it
it would
may have
rain,
been-
we'd be like, we're not doing pull-ups, we're doing deadlifts.
And-
And people were like, I'm so extreme, we're deadlifting in the rain. I'm like, would you go snowboarding outside? And they're like, yes, I would. I was like, see? Shut the fuck up. Start running.
When I left that gym the first time I met him, I was like so motivated. I was like, that is amazing. I'm like, they're just coming for you, for your information.
Well,
I was
no,
like,
they
this is-
came for our banner. Do you remember that?
Yeah, oh
sign
yeah,
we
the
had?
fancy banner. Yeah. Well, that was like you guys. Yeah, I mean,
didn't
you
even have
guys
a name,
spared
we're
no
like,
expense
yeah.
on that banner.
You know, my resume.
but it was awesome.
Has
All the
some-
weights were put away in a shed.
Yeah.
People had to, unlock the shed and then bring the weights out.
It was a storage
stands,
container.
Were you guys
everything.
bench pressing engine blocks?
You had the pain.
That's what they do in New Orleans.
Holla.
And I'm sure the space
cave?
had a lot to do. I mean, I think we would have become obsessed with the movement piece and the like high
You would
quality
have had
coaching
to worry
thing.
about money all the time, though,
Right,
too,
but well, we
'cause
would have
of
had to worry
rent,
about money.
you know?
Yeah, we would have had to pay rent. But I think we were forced to put forward the most high quality coaching and movement training because Lord knows there were no other frills at that place.
Yeah.
So it's
You
like,
didn't
we're
have,
gonna
like-
get a warm towel. We
I
couldn't
didn't-
hide behind anything that looked
I totally
pretty or
didn't
nice.
understand it when I first went.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't get it.
Yeah, no sauna.
Like, Diane Fu was there the first time I went, and then later you brought in like Burdick and you brought in a lot of other really good coaches. I think Carl was probably already with you too, and I was like, I don't understand how this guy built all this stuff. He doesn't even have a home.
Yeah.
It's a homeless gym. It's a gym with no
Yeah.
gym.
Yeah.
It's
We were
amazing.
homeless.
But it was cool. The atmosphere was good. It
Well-
was about training.
Well, and that's what I think
Yeah.
what we made it about is that people understood, and literally, they on 60 Minutes they quoted me and they took it out of context and it was weird. But I said,
Like
hey,
that happened on TV?
I said I want this gym to be one of the most successful, the most influential gyms in the history of the world. And it wasn't because of necessarily just the work that we were doing. It was because that we were connecting and putting together and bringing in so many amazing coaches and thinkers who are saying, look, I solved this problem already. You know, I didn't learn to deadlift. I've been deadlifting for years, but I didn't learn to deadlift until you guys showed up.
Right.
You know?
But still, I think that statement's fair. You go into like even during your seminars, there's people like trying to roll on different things, and there's people in my gym hitting the floor. There's people hooking bands to their legs and trying to stretch different ways. That's because of you, man.
Well, I
It
think
is.
showing people. I think there's two things. Look, you could say, hey, look, we've.
I think you've already reached that. I think you already are the most influential gym in the world.
Oh,
You're already there.
Yeah.
Now what?
I'm out.
What are you doing now? Yeah.
Retired. I mean, you look at like
Drops the mic.
you look at Louis Simmons. He's done a lot of stuff. He's written a lot of articles. He's pumped out a lot of information on powerlifting and stuff. But you're reaching a whole different audience. He was only reaching mainly powerlifters and people just obsessed with strength only.
No, 100% I agree with that. I watch all these, any fitness YouTube, any fitness, anything on the internet, I'm scouring it and watching it. And there's all these little natural bodybuilders that have their own community on purely YouTube, and they're all doing hip distraction stretches before they squat.
Yeah.
It's cool.
It's
And
really
it's
cool.
cool because we people didn't know there was a problem. Someone's like, hey, there's this thing called protein. You should eat it. And like,
Right.
people were like, wow, it's getting better. And I think we have always said, the mobility WOD, we just hit 5 million unique users on that thing.
That's crazy. That's
It's just
awesome.
crazy. And the architecture, if you've ever been to the site, Juliet's the genius. It's based on
Computer programmer.
porn
Porn.
architecture.
Porn.
We literally looked around and I was like, Juliet, do you know how many videos we're going to have to manage? And she was like, yeah, I know how to do it.
I gotta stop. I seriously gotta stop
But
sending
yeah,
you guys
but in
pictures.
total seriousness, we were like, how do we redo? We were redoing the site, and we were like, we have, at that point, 550 videos, and the only people on the web with that much video content
Right.
who were managing it in a user-friendly way was porn.
Yeah.
So we were like, well, We got a model
So you have a
mobility
threesome?
WOD after a porn.
You have a
porn
threesome
website.
category on the site?
There is.
That's one of the
Jesse,
filters.
Mark,
One of the filters.
myself, right.
You go under the special guest category,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
that's
gotta
where you
sign
find
in.
it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's big bucks.
But what we've seen is that if we give people better information, they'll figure out. I was just talking today with a doc he's the doctor in the para-rescue guys, the PJs. He was the doctor who rescued Marcus Luttrell. So from Lone Survivor. Like, the guy is so legit. And we've been working with Mark Pro about how to, create better flushing so we can recover the tissues better. Because I think the training loads are so heavy now and so high, and people's training volumes are so good. Their nutrition's better, their sleep's better, they're moving better, they can handle this, but they're not doing enough just background movement.
Yeah,
They're
well,
not
everybody-
riding the bike or dragging the sled enough. We're so strong, and then we recover, and we're getting freakishly stiff.
Yeah, there's a good grasp on how to train and get strong now.
It's really good. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
But then how do you do the other
And what's
23
happened
hours?
is, and people are getting stiffer and stiffer and stiffer. I'm starting to see that the joint capsule is not the problem anymore. People are figuring that out, which is amazing. But what we're starting to see is really, really muscle stiffness and tissue stiffness is freakish. So this Mark Pro that we use to clear the lymphatics, right? Right, Mark. This is a stiffness problem. So he's so stiff.
so
stiff. Needle stretches.
Little
So,
stretches.
but this doctor working in the ER in Phoenix figured out, he teaches at the school there, figured out, he's like, wow, we're having a problem with snake bites and getting to the flush the toxin out, because basically it destroys all the vasculature. Then the snake venom sits there, and then we get necrosis and decay.
Right.
And so he's like, he's
Paralyzed, basically, right?
well, in that area,
Yeah,
some of the neurotoxin, but because it destroys all the tissue vasculature, you can't flush it out,
Right.
and so that stuff sits in there, and so really innovative people were like, let's drain it. So they put it up, and he's like, literally, they elevated the limb, and it was making a difference. So he started using the Mark Pro, and literally, there's a test case right now where this guy's
crazy.
using this muscle, recovery device for performance, basically on snake bites, and he thinks we can change the game on how much tissue damage is from these snake bites. Which
I
happens
hate
all the time.
snakes.
Amazing. Yeah, I hate
And
snakes.
that's
my worst
is
fear.
the metaphor for what the fuck is going on right now, because people are getting so fucking smart, and we're starting to hack more and more problems. Your hip circle is going to literally prevent 100 million torn ACLs in kids. Like, that's how important that is. As soon as we you take it out of your gym, you're like, and then you're like, kid, get in this. Like, we have one at the home. I make Georgia squat in it before she does. She goes to swim meets.
But I think there is a group that we're in that are getting so sophisticated, but I think part of the reason we've wanted to turn our attention towards the regular people is there's such a huge divide between this group of us that are all trying to understand this and have gotten really sophisticated, and then the pediatrician mother of my kid's best friend, who is seriously
250
in the 70s in her understanding, which I think
thought
is
that's a
more
good thing.
representative. Yeah, it
Well,
is
and
true.
you want
I'm lost now.
And all those high school coaches.
Yeah.
It's kind of
Who
simple,
don't-
you don't
you know.
know you don't know something until you're taught it, and those people are the people that you're referring to. They're not even necessarily seeking it out yet. They're not really to that point. Some of the people that are getting older, they'll seek it out when it's almost too late, and so going backwards and kind of getting to the children, getting younger people is a smart move.
We were just on Strength Coach podcast. Is that what it was?
I think so.
You're cheating on us?
No, that's Strength Coach.
Oh my God!
Sports Coach.
Radio.
Sports Coach Radio.
Yeah.
And Glenn Whitney is on
Doesn't
there.
matter, dude. You're on
And
60 Minutes.
He, but this coach.
Don't forget about the
is-
view.
And and the
Sorry,
view.
don't forget about the view.
Did you
I
meet
saw
Barbara
it too.
Walters?
Oh no!
Oh,
no.
he taught Barbara
Wow!
how to
Whoa!
squat.
Oh,
I know you
Whoa.
told me that. You told me that.
Oh,
You
it's
told me
so
that.
good. Like, I have a few things that I'm really proud about.
She's one of my favorite.
Literally,
Your kids and Barbara Walters.
I jumped, and my wife. I jump off
Sorry,
screen,
J-Star.
and I get pulled in by Barbara's people. They're like, "Can you talk to Mrs. Walters, please?" And I'm like, "Oh, hell yes!" And I go
Hop in the sack.
and she's like a little
She's a
tiny
teeny little
caricature
person.
of herself.
She's a teeny
And she's
person.
this woman's a titan. Like she is really a badass woman in journalism and what
Right.
I mean, she's like 8. She's like 80, isn't
Yeah,
she?
85 maybe, but
Yeah.
still flying back and forth.
Looks like
gonna
she's
go interview
25.
The king, like, bam. I don't know what she's on. Hey.
Hey.
Her stack, her fat burning stack is unbelievable.
Yeah, green tea.
That's right.
God, that
And, but literally, she was having back pain. I was like, well, I taught her how to sleep. I was like, well, what position are you in?
Huh?
Yeah.
And then I taught her to box squat. Right then there, I'm like, Mark Bell's
In the
not gonna
dressing
believe
room.
this. I am teaching Barbara Walters.
I rolled over in my grave. I'm not even dead yet.
how to squat. And I walked out there, and Juliet was like, how was it? I was like, "Yar bitches." Like you ain't got what I got. Like that is literally one of those
That's
surreal
amazing.
experiences.
I watched somebody who slept with Henry Kissinger how to box squad.
Just saying. Just saying.
Yeah,
Just
she's
go, come at
amazing.
me. Come at me.
That's a lifetime PR.
Yeah.
She's
You know
the
what? You know what
best.
she was like? She was like, knees out. I was like, yeah, bitch.
Oh, I thought she was like, oh, you know Salamite?
Yeah, so we're seeing the people getting together, and figuring it out. But we've got to spin it backwards. And it's the strength conditioning community. I think is gonna save the human race. That sounds really dumb, but it's the strength coach. It's the high school strength coach. It's someone getting involved. It's you teaching your kids. I mean, Jake suddenly now has a slingshot upstairs.
Yep.
Right. He's
hammering out some push-ups.
He's doing
before
push-ups
bed.
so he goes
Before bed.
blind.
Yep.
But like he learned how to move correctly.
Yeah.
And however we trick our kids into it, we've got to do it. And this is literally the next generation of thing. We've got to take all the things we're doing and spin it backwards. Otherwise, we are fucked.
I know.
We don't have enough money to deal with the problems that are coming.
Do you find that's off in America, or is that
This is a
worldwide?
This is a Western problem.
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
But it's changing though. I mean, we're starting to see more and more. We were just in Korea teaching.
Yeah.
And we had seen some studies that the average adult in the Western Hemisphere is spending 2.5 hours a day on their smartphone. That's 2.5 hours a day in a shitty, wretched position. And I trust me, it's not our dream to go around and lecture people about their fucking neck position when they text. Like that really,
It's not that sexy.
fucking fix that already.
Boring.
Don't be bent over.
Right.
You wonder why you look at the ground when you squat. Well, you fucking look at that position all the
Right.
time, right? So in Korea, though, it's 4 hours a day that people are on their smartphones, and we're seeing that, the technology's not going anywhere. The easy calories aren't going anywhere. We've got to change it. Otherwise, we're literally going to screw.
They're really first world problems.
Yeah.
People with leisure time are the people who are getting fucked up because they don't
Right.
they don't manage themselves when
They
they're
kind of deserve it in some way.
yeah.
We didn't, but you didn't know
Problems.
until you didn't know. Juliet didn't know. And the only reason we got interested is that we were seeing the same set of problem in our gym as a coach. People forget that we actually coach. We actually have like regular athletes that come in, we solve the same sets of problems everyone else is solving in our own lab with 400 or 500 athletes all the time, plus all the travelers in. And I'm like, why am I having to fix this problem? Like, you should have fixed that. And if you're casual, I think powerlifting is such a good sport because we call it the category 1 movement, where you can get into a very organized mid-range position,
Right.
and you can grind into another very organized position and back, and you can continue to powerlift until you're dead. You
Yeah.
really can. You can put your joints into really stable positions.
Yeah, we've seen some really old fuckers.
It's, right? It's cool. How old are you, Mark?
I'm 37.
What an old fucker.
Yeah.
Old fucker, right? And
37.
how old was Donnie Thompson? He was 46.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
46 squat, and 1,300 slipped off his back. They didn't call it.
Well, your prime's way later. Prime
Yeah,
in
it can be,
NBA is 24, 25. Prime in some of these other sports is way later
But we're
because you're
gonna-
smarter.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
And
Training age.
training age.
That's
so,
how you get jacked.
her whole life, and green tea.
Green tea and training
She just
age.
uses it like chaw. She puts it in her lower lip.
Just a mouthful of green tea.
Like, why are her teeth always so green?
You can buy that.
What?
Yeah,
can't-
yeah.
Green tea
Yeah,
chew?
I think you can, yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, please.
Anyway.
Let's just, yeah.
So the issue is, I think there's so many basic skills that we can then hack and get backwards, and this is where we're gonna go.
I need to go deadlift. My back's hurting.
Oh, you guys were on 60 minutes, and now you're about to be on 90 minutes.
There it is.
Bam.
Mark Bell's 90 minutes.
Juliet, I'm going to ask this question to you because he won't answer it the right way because he's a douchebag. How'd you guys just, in general, how have you guys kind of plowed through? How have you guys been successful just from kind of like general, give some people out there listening some general ideas on how you guys have gotten to this point? I know that he won't think he's successful because it's sort of his job to keep grinding, but, what are some of your views on that?
We actually
Wait, let me stop
we
first.
actually
Let me
talked
answer the
about
right question. Step 1, find Juliet.
Number 1.
Get yourself a Juliet.
You need a Juliet. Number 1, you need a Juliet in your life.
That's all you do.
That's what one of our friends used to say. He's like, I'm not very successful because I don't have a Juliet. But this is going to sound silly, but we have been grinding at this for 10 years. We opened our
decade, there you
gym.
go.
Yeah, we opened our gym in 2004, and we were broke, and we grew our business slowly, and we tried to make decisions for the right reasons because we wanted to do something, not because we were trying to make money.
We had 3 jobs.
And we both held down regular jobs and ran the gym, and we really have just been kind of grinding for a long time.
What
So
jobs
I think
do you guys have while you were
well,
trying to make all this
when we
work?
opened the gym, I was working 80 hours a week as a corporate attorney, and Kelly was working as a physical therapist.
No, I was
full-time.
I was in grad school.
In grad school.
And no kids at that point.
we had
yet, though, right?
we had Georgia was 6 months old.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Whoa.
so I think we've kind of blown up a little bit in the last few years. So I think it could almost appear like we're just this the latest instant
That's
success.
what people always say. Overnight
Yeah, but
success.
it's like we really there's some things that were lucky for us, like getting involved in CrossFit and opening a gym early on and kind of being early adopters of CrossFit. But
Created
the
your own
reality
luck in a
is,
way, too.
yeah, the reality is we've been grinding at this. We also have really like significant educational backgrounds that give us kind of this ability to function in this
Give
world.
you some street cred.
They give us some street cred.
Oh, we got to talk
like
about iron cred after this. That
street
just reminded
cred.
me.
I'm really good at running a business because I'm an attorney. Kelly's, a savant at understanding movement and
Do you guys
mechanics.
end up arguing? Is there friction on some of this, or is it like
No.
you have your department, he's got his department, and that's kind of just the way?
I would
Yeah.
never work with. I could never have another business partner. We get to spend more time together. We are fucking blessed in terms of the amount
So
of time
lucky.
we get to spend
Hashtag
together.
blessed.
Hashtag. She's the peck to my dick.
Hectic.
Dick.
Should we
Yeah.
iron
So,
cred them all?
So just so you just started a gym with you said really no money. You
Well, we like to teach. We
you
were
just-
teachers.
You just started it. Period. Like you just
We
started.
thought it was fun. Seriously, we were like,
And
we
how
think
did you
this
how
is
did
fun.
you start
we
it?
wanna
You
do
bought
this.
it. You bought some weights, or you bought
We
some flooring,
we inherited 2 hex bars from this personal trainer guy at Club
No, that's
One.
not a hex deadlift bar. That was this bar.
The bar
that
where
had
the
a hex.
actual bar is shaped like
I've
a hex.
seen those.
Remember
Those are amazing. Yeah,
Oh
Yeah.
my god, I've never seen that.
Your hand is not big enough to go around.
I'm familiar with it. Yes.
And then we inherited that and a Stairmaster. Remember? Like
Nice.
the
Yeah.
full-on original
Yeah.
Stairmaster.
I went to Craigslist.
And because
That's why you guys have nice glutes.
Because we had other jobs. We used to do Tabata Stairmaster as an aside, but we had other jobs. So it was like anytime there was a plus $500 in our San Francisco CrossFit bank account, we're like, 2 barbells. And so we
Yeah.
had a long period of time where we didn't live at all off of whatever meager amount of money the
Yeah.
gym was making, and we would just pour it right back into the gym.
So I think a lot of people are looking at it the wrong way. They're thinking like, if I'm going to start my own facility, I need 50 grand in the bank, or I need 30, 40 grand
You need a
just to get
garage.
started.
We got
Yeah.
kicked out of our backyard.
Yeah.
We
We got
lit-
kicked out of our backyard, which is why we're like, well, we need a space. We're moving to the parking lot.
Literally at 6 a.m, someone across the street was like, "Shut the fuck up!" We were doing like slams and deadlifts, and weird. They all got pissed.
So you don't need anything fancy.
No,
you just
no,
need a
no,
dream,
no.
and you need to follow.
Well, and it's
you need
really
to follow
it's,
through
and,
with it.
Do you remember how hard it was to find squat stands 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't buy anything. Like I couldn't find gymnastics rings that weren't made by like Splith Anderson that were like $200. I found these ocean net cargo ring things, these like purse seine nets. I ran a camster through that, and I was like, "Look, I got rings." I mean, like we made
There
our own
wasn't
equipment.
literally you couldn't
Right.
buy the equipment, and I laugh now because everyone's always like, I gotta have my women's bar, and like there was no women's bar, Belle.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I
it was
don't know
called
when-
Eleco, you know,
I mean-
and like
I mean,
who has a
at least
$900
back
bar?
then, and it was
Right.
like people are like, "You're gonna use a men's bar." I was like, it wasn't that long ago where all there was for me to use was the bar,
a weird
which
hex bar.
wasn't a men's bar. It was just the bar. You know?
Right.
Well, and this is the real issue: is change the people around you. Start bringing all the kids in once a week. Bring all your friends over. Go volunteer. We teach at our local swim club. I do adrenaline training. Lasts 20 minutes or 30 minutes per group, once a week. I just teach them movements. Like, can you do this? And we just got the overhead squat. Kids are PRing like mad. We show them the same things, over and over again. We set out to create a place where our friends wanted to train. That was it. And then we started having more and more friends, and
Right.
it was that simple. We gave a shit. And, I don't know if you could replicate it again. We grinded, and then we were so transparent and generous. We gave everything we knew about something we figured out. We gave it away. I mean, this is why the first time I spent time
what
with
you were doing was a little bit Bruce Lee-like in a way. You were giving away information that other doctors probably didn't want you to give away.
Oh, for sure.
You're giving away the ancient Chinese
How
secrets.
many videos have you guys
for people to fix
Right,
themselves.
saying you don't need to go spend
$1,100,
$200.
$1,300?
Oh no, we're
Oh, between the two of us?
Yeah,
It's-
3,000 probably.
Yeah, between 2,500 and 3,000. Yeah.
2,500 videos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are at like over
Almost
1,000.
1,000,
We're over
yeah.
1,000, like 1,100 or something. And that's 1,100. Probably 700 of those are totally free. And just do this for me. Look in your training logs and count back 700 days of training.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I bet you don't have 700 days of training in your training log, and yet you guys have made 2,500 videos saying,
Right.
this is how we train, Here's what's going on. Come help.
This is what we're doing.
And literally, if you can't, I mean, it's different now. You're like, oh, we can podcast. Everyone's got it. Everyone's doing a podcast. But that is not what it looks like. It looks like the honesty of this is what we know, and we're going to show everyone else what we know. And you've given it away forever. I mean, you're watching you guys was one of the first times I ever saw what it looked like to run an entire lifting session at elite level lifters.
Right.
You know, I mean, now, yeah, it's great to go to I've seen Louis' place and lifted with those guys.
Right.
But to see you.
They don't have the level of disclosure that we did.
That's right.
We weren't trying to keep anything
And Louis was really
secret.
old school, right? Because he literally was like, hey, I've got to do this to be the best, and I've got to hide my methods, you know, and then I'll leak them out a little bit.
I can't tell you that we always had a pure motive, because sometimes it was like, fuck you. We have people who can do really cool shit. I mean, sometimes that's really what it
simple,
was.
yeah.
It was that simple. But
And
I don't want to say like all our motives are pure too, because I mean we like
health
running a
insurance.
successful business,
of
and
course.
I am like it's like one of my greatest moments of pride when I made enough money that I could offer health insurance and a 401k to our coaches, and
Right.
that that like we can pay our mortgage. I mean, so it's not all just roses and unicorns. I mean I like running a business, and I like making money and being successful at that too.
Right.
So it's
I don't know about you guys. Juliet was single. Well, basically had a single mama, right? Older brother, but just like I single son,
this is
single
where it
mama,
gets heavy.
critically fucking poor. Like I love to fill up the gas tank because I'm like I'm not going to run out of gas. For a
So
long
here's how
time.
you know Kelly is he feels like he reached his financial peak when he could go to the sports basement and buy whatever kind of bar he wanted, even a whole case.
Right.
And like that was it. Like for Kelly, he's like, I've reached my financial peak. Like I can go to the sports basement and I can buy a whole box of Pro Max bars.
Well, you
I
find
can
that.
afford that.
Yeah.
I
You know, and he's
literally
like,
couldn't.
He's like done.
I had this dream. I was like, someday I'm gonna have so much money that I'll just have baskets of food bars, like protein bars. Like whenever I want, I could just have one. And you read the Velocity
And he's
Diet,
like,
Dan John's Velocity Diet. I was like, I don't have enough money for the Velocity Diet. Like, you know how much protein that is? Like, oh my god, you know what I mean? Like,
$200 of protein.
and literally, and now, and Juliet laughs whenever I go someplace. I'm like, ooh, I like those bars, and I just always grab a handful. I'm an obsessive bar buyer. I love
He
them.
doesn't even want to eat them. He just is
No,
like,
those
I
bars are
can
collectibles.
buy
Just give
that
me 20
bar,
of 'em.
so I'm going to buy it.
Or that feeling like when you put your ATM card in and you hear that click sound that knows it's actually giving you money.
Oh,
Yeah, there is money in there
Yeah,
that will come out.
The issue, I think it was in Bob McDougall's book, Born to Run. That old running coach was like, chase the goddess of wisdom, the goddess of wealth will get jealous and find you.
Right.
Yeah.
And that really is the case. Like, do the right thing for the right reason. And there are so many people to go. I mean, I don't know how many times I went down and interned for Mike Bergner. I'd fly to Southern California.
You made a lot of sacrifices or created your own path, your own way.
I'd show up and be like, hey, I'll coach for free for 3 days to watch you coach on my dime. I would sit on someone's couch. Juliet would run the family.
I call that eating a shit sandwich
Holy
without the bread.
shit.
We did a lot of eating a
That's
shit
what I
sandwich. I
refer-
mean, we
yeah.
had 2 little
No bread.
kids running like multiple businesses. Kelly's on the road 10 days a month. I mean, we ate a lot of shit for a lot of years.
It's good. And there's
it's
as you
good.
know, there's
You
no.
gotta
it's
do that.
important.
It's
yeah.
called training age, is what
Yeah.
it is. And to be able to have enough experience where we're starting around. The key is, I think that if people are really honest about their training age, they have a ton of experience, way more than they think, and they can literally convert that into helping people sit better, teaching their grandma to squat at the old person's home. I mean, it's that fucking simple. Like, you think you can box squat? Boom, you just solved hip problems and fall risk in the elderly. I mean, it's that simple. Just do like 10 squats, an EMOM, of squatting with your grandma for 10 minutes. Every other minute, grandma, we're going to do a heavy double. Your body weight. We're going to put a pillow in your butt, and it just gets a high, it works. But literally, it's that simple. We're seeing doctors apply that to patients in hospitals now. He literally writes Tabata squat. And the nurse is like, what's a Tabata squat? He's like, look it fucking up. He's literally is hardcore. He's like, and literally now you have heart patients, instead of just walking around, they're squatting to chairs, and it's that simple.
Would you say in some way that you have maybe like a little bit of a chip on your shoulder against the traditional physical therapy that's been out there for years? Is that kind of why you took your approach, or is it purely just because you thought you could teach it a better way?
Juliet's shaking her head
Yeah.
for the
'Cause, I mean,
for audio.
Go ahead,
in the
Jay.
audience.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just encouraging him to.
I mean, a lot of the things
I volunteer at my
that
school.
happened with me
I talked to all the
because I got
third
a chip on my shoulder.
I talked
You
to
know?
I talked to the third years. I'm friends with the dean. I work, but people.
Don't
The
be
system.
political.
The system is products of the system. You've got to simultaneously be of the system. You've got to get straight A's, and be working to overturn the king. You've got to be doing that. There's a better way. You've got to be relentless in your ability to find better solutions. And what happened was that we just got a bunch of basic horseshit. And maybe because I came in as an athlete and an injured athlete, and I was like, this, I understand this physical therapy thing. I'm injured, or it's very low level, but it doesn't bridge. Like, you can't squat 1,000 pounds doing this. You can't go to the Olympics doing this. Like, there's this hole. And then also, the things that we were giving people was just very low level. And the physios are burned out. They don't really, it doesn't feel good. It's like bad, people bag on their doctor. I'm like, whoa. Your doctor's trapped in a system. Help your physician get out of that system. Take on, go get your blood tested. Go find out. Go be a better consumer. So
They give people a lot of weird exercise to go home and do that don't necessarily get them out of pain or make them better.
Well,
They're just
it's like saying pain, yes, no. If I cure your pain, take your pain away, then I'm saying you're cured. That's like saying, oh, you added weight to your squat. You're a better squatter today, right?
Right.
That's the only thing we're evaluating.
Right.
Like, it just can't be that way.
Well, and I think what a lot of people don't know is the reason Kelly and I started Mobility WOD is that he would come home every night and he's like, I saw the same 5 things. I keep seeing the same 5 problems. Like,
Right.
it's not like, and the same 5 problems are across, regular just office people to elite level athletes. He's like, I'm seeing the same things, and what we're giving people is not working. And so he's like, I need to start letting everybody know because everybody can't come see me. And, his philosophy from the beginning was like, if I can't fix you in 3 or 4 visits, like, I'm firing you because it's not good, And that's not what the model is. The model is go see your physical therapist for 25 visits and do a bunch of stuff that
Right.
may or may not actually help you.
it's your fault, though. You don't know.
No, you have no idea.
But now you know. Like, we're going to
Yeah,
crack the egg.
yeah.
The most influential, I think, book ever was when I read Louis' book about squatting, or some article he read, written about box squatting. And I was like, vertical shin, maybe that reduces shear.
Box squat head to toe, probably something like that.
Yeah, and I literally was like, I keep the shin vertical longer. I can remove this shear across the ACL. I get this good motor pattern. And then I literally took someone who just had an ACL recovery, and I was like, here we go. And then someone else had just, and I literally was like, oh, meniscus, don't worry, we're not going to get a translation of your shin. We'll get perfect
We
rotation.
do that all the time at super training.
Of course. And it was the first time that literally I was working at a sports orthopedic place that was like the Taj Mahal. And they were like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, here's the mechanics and here's the rationale. And suddenly I was like, it was the first time I literally was like, ding, 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 we figured it out. We got to do this.
And like everything else you say, it's so scalable. Yeah,
It's gotta be.
that guy came off ACL. Well, my knee's feeling a little banged up today. It's not injured, but I'm going to box squat today instead of front squat.
Keep my shin vertical.
So easy.
Well, so one of the things we're obsessed about now is if something is valid, it doesn't just work for one person. It's got to scale up and it's got to scale down.
Right.
It's got to be of scale. Otherwise, it's not of service.
It's bullshit otherwise, right?
Well, one of the things we learned on 60 Minutes, you just say bullsh.
Bullshit.
Are you allowed to say that?
No.
Bullshit.
Oh.
But the
I
producer
thought that was
said
an
bullsh.
editing thing.
Bullshit.
But I think that's nice, isn't it?
Any
That's
good
some
poop
bullsh.
stories to take us out with?
We got to do iron cred rating too.
Yeah, I guess so. All right.
You want to?
How much you bench?
No, I was gonna say you could rate J Star and all right.
All right.
Okay,
Oh,
so
no, you can't.
You can
rate
start.
J-Star.
You start.
Okay.
J-Star doesn't weightlift.
10.
What?
J-Star
Oh,
only
that's-
does
No,
cardio.
That's some horseshit.
No, it's
Just
not
flex
just-
on him. You got iron cred.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
all iron cred.
Yeah, yeah.
It's all experience and lifting.
All right. J-Star, what's your best deadlift?
270.
We gotta work on that. That's negative points right there.
Yeah.
Well, what's your body weight if you don't mind us asking?
140.
Yeah, maybe get a point back. So we're at 0. Jackness, as we can see, is off the charts. So what's that? 4 points, Mike?
Yeah, she's
Jackness.
pretty jacked.
And then a tan. That's another
I need a
4.
She's
five.
really
I need
tan.
5 for
She's
Jack.
up to 8.
Dude,
She's
at
up
least,
to
at
8.
least.
What's your best squat? She doesn't know. That's
Maybe
points off big time.
205.
All right, 205. That's 3 points off.
Yeah.
Where are we at, Mike? 5?
Yeah, I'm back
Yeah,
down to
five.
Back down to about
Back down to
5.
Iron cred, baby. Just iron cred, not you.
All
Just
right,
iron
all
cred.
right,
Yeah.
let's see.
Abs.
Oh, she got abs.
popping.
Yeah.
That's huge.
She's back
I
up
need
to
to
10.
get a 10 for those.
Abs.
Yeah,
I need
that's
to get a
5.
10.
Abs for days.
That's
And she's
fine.
got what
There's
do you call
2 children
the,
and
the
abs.
pube vein.
Pube vein.
Oh,
got
pube
Pube vein? Game over. Game
She
over.
is shredded.
That's the epitome of jackness.
What's the Is it the Jolene? What's the bathing suit?
Jolene.
Jolene. those of you who are listening who know what a Jolin bathing suit is because you watch women's water polo and beach volleyball. It's this shredded swimsuit thing.
I have mine in the car.
Those are great.
Exactly.
I think they're from
Juliet.
Yeah.
Juliet rocks it at the kids like swim pool, whatever. And literally,
What's up, bitches?
literally, I'm like, okay,
That's awesome.
I'm gonna go home and start taking green tea right now.
Green tea. All right, K-Star. Best squat?
525 with a.
I was there.
with a hunt. No.
Oh,
with like about 120 pound band.
Oh, shit. All right, so that's a 3. Well, I mean, we're around 1,000 pounds of
I know,
squatters.
that's- I was
that's
like-
good.
You're like,
I'm
that's
like,
a 3.
That's good.
I have squatted over 5.
That's good. All right, deadlift. I saw 500 and like 100 or
And
more a
chains,
chain.
Yeah.
525 and
Yeah,
a
that
chain,
happened
100
at
pound
Super
chain.
Training Gym.
All right, so that's another 3. You're at 6.
I'm in there. I got the 5s.
Bicep
Juliet's
size?
at 10 though.
I know you've measured your arms. Don't lie.
I'm at 10.
Biceps.
I
I
gotta
don't
come
measure
out
them,
ahead of
but
them.
they're thicker than
Wait,
my neck.
we have measuring tape like right here.
Uh-oh. Should
we
we
do.
measure on camera?
No, thicker than my neck. Thicker than my neck.
That's
all I
pretty
need to know. If your arm should be thicker, I can't do that.
That's the
Maybe
rule.
hold it afterwards.
That's the rule.
I think your bicep should be thicker than your neck.
I agree.
Get these pipes going here.
I agree.
Thicker than your neck.
All right, so you're a doctor.
Doctor.
Down 3. Down 3. Down 3. There's not that many Jack doctors.
So
They
he's
don't
not
know
a
what's going
4.
on.
He's
So
back
you're
on
at 4.
4.
You're at 4.
6 and
He's
a
at
half.
4 now.
Sorry.
16.5, not bad.
Best bench? I saw you repping for days 315 with a
Floor
slingshot.
press, 395.
That's 5. So what are you at, an 8? 9.
J-Star wins. I think.
J-Star won.
Yeah. She wins a free something
It's the
from how
abs.
much you
It's the
bet.
abs, baby.
Nothing changes. Juliet always wins.
Son of a B.
The
World champion.
let me just go. I'm going to be misogynist here.
She'll
'cause
start litigating.
You're married to Andy,
Yes.
who is so legit. National
Too legit to
medalist,
quit.
right? In senior masters. Senior masters now?
Something like that.
Yeah.
I follow some of
She's
it.
amazing.
Every once in a while, I can
swims
beat
a lot.
Juliet at something only because I outweigh her by 100 pounds.
Yeah, there you
Right?
go.
And I'm crushing her. And she's like, I don't understand why you're crushing me. I'm like, unfortunately, you're trapped in a chick's body.
Back to that testicles
She's
thing.
literally like,
You're going to hear about this.
what? I'm going to hear about this?
He's like, wait, should
You
I
just
shut up?
said shut-
Am I in trouble?
And it's not my fault. I'm just, Juliet is okay for a 140-pound woman. And I'm like, come on, woman, pick it up. She's like, but it's 500 pounds. I'm like, yeah, I knew it. You got
Quick poop
nothing.
story. Anybody? Poop story? Kids dropped a massive dookie
Oh, no.
somewhere.
We had a kid vomiting last
Kelly
night.
did drink his own pee one time.
Once.
Whoa.
3 times.
3 times. I'm
Three
sorry,
times.
3 times. It's not really poop, but it's in the same vein.
Come on. You haven't done that?
No, I never tried it.
No, I didn't say tried it. I didn't try it. I did it.
On purpose, right? Like green tea. It's a stack. It's a stack.
I was watching Bear Grylls. No, come on. You've been in the car. You pee in a jug.
Right.
And then you're drinking water, and you grab the wrong jug, and you're chugging away, and the cookies and cream Cliff
This is
bar
like,
doesn't taste very good, and you're like, what the fuck is wrong with this cookies and
What's
Cliff
wrong with this
bar?
lemonade?
And no, because it's so dilute, because you're drinking all the time, and you're like, it's not, I just bought a new one, I don't understand. And then you have that moment where, like, you've left the gas on, and you're like, oh, it's my own pee. I'll never eat this flavor of cream Cliff bar ever again.
That's disgusting.
That is disgusting.
It happens once in a while.
Anyway, I think it's time for us to drop off. Website.
Yeah, where can people find you guys?
mobilitywad.com.
Mobilitywad.com.
And,
Yeah, go fix yourself. And then, more importantly, fix everyone around you. They're fucked up.
And you have a book coming out in a couple weeks, months.
We
Ready to Run
Ready
comes
to Run.
out October 21st,
2014?
2014.
Coming up.
second edition of Supple Leopard.
Hard Dooks.
Nice.
Can I be in your karass in
You
that?
already are in our karass.
I'm so lost.
Is that like
I'm
a
in
will?
your
That's the
karass?
feeling that you get when you're around Kelly, and that finally has a name.
That I'm in his
Yeah,
karass?
it finally has a
Yes.
name.
I know.
So weird.
Like, seriously.
I can
I'm
feel
like, I can't shake Mark Bell. I
I can
can't
feel
shake
the
him.
energy.
Can't
I
fake
can feel the
Exercise,
heat.
Romance. What was that before?
Should we have a hug?
romantic energy.
Should we hug it out?
Romantic energy.
How about
Romantic
how about a hand hug, Jesse Burdick style?
Oh, wrong hand.
Oh yeah.
Hug it out. Would you get a hand hug?
There you go.
No,
Jesse
he,
Burdick.
he
come
doesn't
on,
like
get
me
it.
very
Hug
much.
it up. Hug it out. Hug it out.
He doesn't even
what's
shake
up.
my hand.
Those are so weird.
Because you have those little baby hands. It makes him feel
They are
weird.
small.
You do have little
All right. Well,
hands.
that's it for the PowerCast. I'm at Mark Smelly Bell on the Twitters and on the Instagrams, and
You can follow me.
multiply your hustle, multiply your muscle, and may all your shits be tapered.
That's it. Later.
Follow us on Twitter at STGymSac, Facebook/Super Training Gym. We'll see you next time.
Subscribe to Power Magazine at thepowermagazine.com. If you choose the digital edition, you can catch up on all the great back issues, take your training to the next level with Slingshot products, and howmuchyoubench.net, And look for BSN products including NO Explode at bodybuilding.com. Mark Bell's PowerCast is a production of supertraining.tv.